Hello and welcome back to Dial H for Heroclix. I'm your sexy ranch hand co-host, Kalder. This episode, we are going to be talking about the Auxxit auction, the Scott Porter Pog, building in Silver Age, and more importantly, building in Modern Age after Wonder Woman has come out. This is episode 362. Howdy, howdy, let's get rowdy.
So if you're looking for emotional satisfaction, my advice to you is seek professional...
Heroclix?
No.
Are you serious? Again? How many people even play this game? Like 100? Instant deadpan humor.
Over 6 people think I am funny.
It's the hard day's work. Not that you know anything about that. Which...
You absolute fools, it's not
Witcher nonsense.
I'm gonna make Heroclix like that forever. Are you kidding me?
Hey Google, attack someone.
Let's attack Simeon, because he's a jerk.
Wow. Dial H for HeroClix is brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day, including all the latest HeroClix singles and sealed products. Make sure you check them out at CoolStuffInc.com. Ladies and gentlemen, you can use code DIAL5. That's DIAL5. 5% off your Cool Stuff Inc. order. That's pretty darn neat. Joining me, like always, is Villian Clicks Bruce, the current Dial H for HeroClix champion, Simeon. What's good in the hood, my man?
I just want the record to show that I am a fan of the koala bear. Since non-Patreon members will have no idea what that conversation was about, I want them to also be aware that I am, yes, in fact, a fan of koalas. Whether or not they are, in fact, a bear.
Yeah, when you think about it, they're pretty weak on the bear scale, right? Like, they're pretty low-tier bears.
Yeah, how many koalas does it take to fight a panda off? Like a full-sized panda versus koala bear. Let's say they're both, like, bloodlusted. Which one wins? I don't know.
I think the panda wins, right?
Panda might just kill itself.
They're big.
But they're real dumb.
Why would the panda kill itself?
Because they're just real dumb and clumsy. Like, falls out of a tree and just ends itself. Like, rolls down a hill.
Are we going to use this for the show? Are we going to keep going? Or are we going to restart? I honestly don't.
No, this is quality. This is quality.
Oh, we're keeping it. All right. Shoot, we're keeping it. Hey, Simeon, I'm just going to skirt around that and say, what made you happy this week, my man?
All right. What made me happy this week?
Animal fights.
Yeah.
Please.
Besides posting exotic animal fights to the friendship, like Mortal Kombat.
Know your location.
No, I had a couple things that made me happy this week. So I went to Rockin' Bingo at the Nebraska Brewing Company. They host Rockin' Bingo, where it's like bingo, but you have to hear like the music and figure out who like the artist is and what the name of the song is to cross out the little bingo square. I lose every time because I'm not exactly what you would consider somebody that enjoys popular music or just popular music. But it's a fun time. Met some cool people, talked to like some cool people, and then there's also a random magician that appeared, and that was horrifying. But he's doing his best, I guess. And then I played some like board games and stuff later on, so that was also really fun. Played my Epic Wizard Battles card game, which I still I have like I have like 4 expansions, and I've only ever played the first one because it's so convoluted. I'm afraid to get into the expansions where it gets even more convoluted. I played that one. I played some other random games, but yeah, it was a good weekend.
Cool, man. I dig it. I dig it a lot. This week, I also had a couple different things that made me happy. I was late on the train with popular things, as I often am, and finished Invincible. That was neat. I kind of want to pick up the comics now. I'm one of those people that Simeon was complaining about last week. who and I would have. I'll tell you this. I would have never, ever in a million years picked up an Invincible comic if not been for the Think Mark Think meme. Because it bothered me so much, I didn't understand the joke. Oh. So I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to watch Invincible
now. Episode 8. Yeah. I don't... Yeah. It's been a long time since I've read the comics. But the first 8 episodes is roughly like the first 12 issues of the comic.
Only 12? Really?
Yeah, they really... Like everything that happens in the first 8 episodes is like pretty early on in the comics. It gets a lot
See,
weirder and a lot darker in like certain
honestly,
spots.
with the way for how fast they made the show go by, but with how many different storylines were in each episode, made me feel like this was the first like 30 or 40 books. And honestly, like it seriously felt like they packed that much in because it's 8 months, right? It's like 8 or 9 months is this show. So I figured it was like longer, and I know how comic books and months work and whatever. So I know it's obviously not 1-to-1. Yes, I'm not a baby when it comes to comic books. I've read them before, but like still, I just figured it was longer. Yeah, dude, good show. A few other things. I went down to a pizza shop this week. It was really good. It's across the border into Nebraska. And we just enjoyed it, had a good time. And then this weekend, big for me. For those that remember that I've been doing professional wrestling style training, and for those that enjoy kayfabe, they can skip ahead a little while. But I was able to finally wrestle in front of a crowd at Biggs Bar in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I got to be the masked enforcer. So what the promotion does is every time they got a new guy or newer people, instead of just sticking them out in front of a crowd and people like, this dude sucks and boo him. And then it's like, well, dang, man, sorry. They know your face and your body now, so they're just going to kind of hate you forever. What they do is they give you a mask and these like black baggy clothes, and they make you the enforcer. And then you wrestle under that guys for, a few events and whatever to get you used, to get your nerves to calm down a little bit when you're performing in front of other people, and to not screw up so much, to not look bad, make yourself look bad just because you're new. So I did that. I wrestled as the enforcer. I invited my family to come down and watch it, which was great. He put me, the way we did the card, we figured out who all was going to be there that night, because, people kind of do be canceling pretty short notice. And he ended up putting me in 2 matches on my first night, which my body is hurting. It is hurting bad. I might link if they don't. Here's the thing. I'm pretty bad at it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm doing my best. I am doing my best, but it's not something that is easy. I've never been an athlete. I've never been a particularly talented or gifted person in that realm. So I'm a little stiff, and I did kick one of my opponents in the balls on purpose / accident, and I did not mean to. I was trying to do one of those like fake kicks, and I hit him square in the junk, and I felt so bad, dude. I felt so bad. Second thing, I
were
can't
you playing
hear
a
very
heel
well.
though? Was it like
I was a heel? The masked
Okay.
enforcer is a bad guy. So
that's
so
at
what
least-
I do is I
yeah,
do like
it at least
kicks,
fits character.
kicks and strikes right away, run them into the corner, make the ref have to push me off them, maybe do a cheap shot, stuff like that. Like we were doing all this stuff to get heat. Like I said, if you want to keep kayfabe and you think wrestling is 1000% real, you're going to want to skip all of this. So I had obviously talked out all the matches with my opponents that night, and I was going to try to follow the script as best I could and just listen to when they would call things to me in the match. When we would lock up and they would like whisper, like, hey man, we're gonna do a slam now. Run off the ropes, take a tackle, or like whatever, right? Stuff like that. Anyways,
Hey, make contact with
Hey.
my balls. Kick me square in the nuts.
That's what he said. I didn't mean to do that. And as soon as I did it, he was like, "Oh god!" Like he is like whatever air was left in his lungs like escaped, and he's like, "Oh," and I was like, "Oh, did I actually?" And he's like, "Kick me again," and I'm like, "Are you sure?" I mean, dude, it was so bad, but it was a great match because I took the pedigree like a champ, by the way. So in like the course of like 2 minutes, I take the pedigree, I kick out at 2, I slowly climb back up. He goes in for an RKO. I push him off. I pick him up to do an angle slam. He gets out of it, tries to RKO me again. I try to give him the rock bottom. He gets out of it. And then he actually RKOs me, and then he pins me. And it's just a really sweet set of moves that I hope, like, because when I'm wrestling, it's like this glaze goes over my eyes, and I'm just in a haze, like that Mr. Krabs meme where he's like surrounded by people, and it's like all that swirl effect around him. That's how it feels, especially when I'm wearing this awful, hard to breathe in mask that's just no one has washed ever. Yeah, we've already talked about wrestling for way too long, but I had a really good time doing my matches. Wrestling fans might be my least favorite fans. They suck. I hate them so much. And here's why. When I was a referee, they booed me. They didn't like me. And I'm like, it's fine, whatever. Now when I'm this guy, I've already gotten slammed once at this point in one of these matches. And I landed correctly. I was fine. But then they said, again, or what did they say? One more time. And I'm like, I hate your chance.
There's out for blood,
Nothing more in pro wrestling do I hate more than chance. He slammed me again. And then they said, make it 3. And I was like, And I was like, Jackson, are you really going to pick me up again? And he's like, we have to. And I'm like, do we have to?
Do we?
And before I could even like get most of that out, I was in the air. He's strong, man. I barely had to jump for him to get me up. And I weigh like 190 pounds. Anyways, and I was on the ground again, and I was like, can I kick out at 2? And he was like, yeah, that's fine. I wanted to say, can you just pin me? Can we be done? Can I go home?
How about they start
I don't want to sound like a baby.
End it here.
Yeah, that'd be great. Here's your chant. Like, yeah. But yeah, no, it was really good. And if those matches get uploaded within a week or two, I might send them out on the Patreon for sure, then my private Facebook, probably not on our Dial H Facebook page. But if you are interested in those links, go ahead and contact the show. But we've talked too much about that, but it was fun, and hopefully I'm gonna do it again. Let's just go ahead and jump into the news we have this week. All right, so really quickly, we had a live stream this week. Scott Porter and the woman made out of cardboard, the Muse, did a live stream talking about some more Silver Age clarifications and also showing off the Scott Porter hog. So really quickly, here's the stuff for the Silver Age. Here's the new ban list. This is a full ban list. We only had a small portion last week when we talked about building. So
Silver
here's
Age,
the ban list. And here's some more
Silver
information.
Age already has a ban list, and this is an additional ban list specifically for the Scott Porter Invitational.
For this event.
Yeah.
All right. So the Penguin, Blackbird, Legion, all ID cards. We already knew that. Goblin King, Unimind, the Secret Wars, Chase, Gauntlet, Black Panther, 060 Joker's Wild Joker, the Lasso of Truth. Thank the Lord. The Lasso of Truth, the XDPS Dark Phoenix, TMNT Mini Shredder, the Vulture, obviously, Scarab, Bishop, Prime Bishop, Mudman. Like, come on, Mudman. Okay.
Yeah.
Jakeem Thunder, and I'm also kind of like Jakeem Thunder. Like, okay. Lord Doom, Ultimate Nullifier, and then the 005B Microphone Batman.
Yeah. So opinions on this. The reason
that's the new ban list.
the reason why I had someone ask this question, the reason why the Ultimate Nullifier was banned.
Oh yeah, Ultimate Nullifier
is actually a super simple reason. So it's because the way the Ultimate Nullifier is worded. Power, choose an opposing character within 6 squares in line of fire, then choose a number from 1 to 6 to be X. And roll a d6. If the result is higher than X, deal X damage to the chosen character. If the result is lower than X, deal X damage to this character. If the result is equal to X, deal X damage to both characters. So basically, with that object, there's certain characters that either... So certain characters like that Haha Joker that is banned. There's certain characters that just... Or like Daredevil from Earth X... that don't care if they're KO'd or if they take damage or whatever. Maybe they like reduce damage in some fashion or just completely like subvert how they would take damage. And so the Ultimate Nullifier becomes like a very powerful tool where I can say like things like 4 or 5 and it doesn't matter if it damages me because the character I have it equipped to is not nearly as fragile as the character I'm using it against. So that makes sense. Things that don't make sense to me are the fact that they banned a lot of pick-a-power characters. Like, I understand 100% why they banned Goblin King. Unimind also makes a lot of sense to me. The reason why they banned those characters makes sense. But then there's like several figures that they kind of forgot about, I guess. Like the rare Franklin Richards for 65 points with an 11-click long dial. He can do the same thing as Goblin King. He can pick 3 powers, so he can have Impervious, shape change super senses with power cosmic, and yes, he might take 3 unavoidable damage, but I mean, he might also only take 1. So it's strange that they left him in there when they had, Jakeem Thunder and Goblin King and Unimind in there. I don't know if they just missed him or if they were just like, no, he takes damage, so, it's fine. Even though he can do the exact same thing, except, I don't know, slightly better than Jakeem for the points, I think.
I would say definitely better than Jakeem. But yeah. Honestly, after playing a few games with the Nullifier, it kind of sucks, dude. Like,
yeah,
I'm not gonna lie. Like,
on.
I gotta pick a number, and I gotta be like, well, if I roll more than it, you will take damage. But it's like, okay, so I can't choose 6 because I can't physically roll more than a 6. So the most I can choose is 5, which means I gotta roll 6. Or it's like, so like, let's say, what's the easiest number to do? 3. Okay, I get to deal a whole 3 damage just so I don't have to roll an attack. But then it's this 50-ish, like 50-50 sort of whatever. I'm not a nerd. I don't care about math. I'm not going to tell you the probability of it. You can figure that out for your own. You're an adult. But I don't care. Anyways, like you choose like 3, okay? You can only fail on 2 options, right? Because if you're using Daredevil, if you also roll a 3, then it's fine. Or whoever. So cool. I dealt you 3 damage. Mediocre amount of damage for not having to roll an attack, but instead roll this die, which is totally like I can't prob it. I can't whatever. It's just I roll it. Can't replace it. So I don't know, dude. Nullifier kind of sucks, dog. Like, except for maybe the fact that you can deal damage to your character to activate them. Like, if I wanted to activate Lex Luthor, like the new Red Sun Lex Luthor, I could be like 5 Ultimate Nullifier. See if I can deal you 5 damage somehow, or deal us both 5 damage, and I'll just hit my stop click. Like, then maybe that's kind of cool. But yeah, nah, man. I don't think Nullifier's that good. And maybe I'm an idiot. I'm not a competitive player.
I'm not so I'm not 100% sure on.
But I'm not seeing the Nullifier being that good, man.
I'm not
it's
sure
too,
how
it's too
the new rules work
wild
with
thing.
Unavoidable. If Unavoidable gets through stop clicks, then like maybe that's.
Well, it's not unavoidable. It's just damage. It's just deal X damage. It's not unavoidable
it's not
damage.
Unavoidable. Okay.
Yeah, it's just damage. Yeah, it's normal. It's not penetrating, not unavoidable. It's just and that's the thing. It's not even penetrating. It's just damage. Like, it sucks, dude. I'm sorry, bro. Ultimate Nullifier is kind of dog, bro. Like, you kind of, I don't know. I don't think it's that great.
Yeah, that means that if you're not doing at least 3, most figures are reducing it. So you have to kind of go for like the big numbers, 4, 5, 6 to really make it. Well, 6 clearly doesn't help you. Unless you're playing Haha Joker, someone that doesn't care about being damaged. But yeah, other than that, it's kind of bad deal for you. It is interesting that and greater minds than those on this podcast put together this ban list. And by that, I mean, people who overthink Heroclix to the extent where they're going to ban things like Jakeem Thunder, who won a World's... Wait,
dude,
no. Did he? No, I don't think he did.
Too many points and not viable anymore, in my opinion.
Yeah,
like,
I
just
fully think Jakeem Thunder is 100%.
140.
Like the worst thing out
Sorry,
there
jeez, good lord, it's 140 points. He has sidestep, ESD, and prob. Yeah, he's an 11 for 4 with 8 range.
He also
targets.
had Murata, so it's not like he's even the full power that he once was. He's like
he chooses 2 entire standard powers. Wow.
2 standard
Only one can be
2
a
standard powers,
power.
and there's like a huge caveat on it because
huge caveat.
Yeah, it's
it's not even
only
protected outwit or protected
a defense
wave or anything.
So you can't double up on defense.
Jakeem Thunder sucks, guys. He sucks. Bam, you're on some goop, bro. This guy is brutal under 221 rules. On the 221, good lord, on the 2021 rules. Also, pairing these 2 with the Soul Gem is insane. It's not insane, Bam. You're an idiot, bro. Let's double check. What's Bam on HC Realms? Let's check. Oh, I'm not logged in. All right, give me a second so we can talk about something. I want to berate this gentleman a few more.
So the other thing that I really, I understand why it's banned, but I really wish it wasn't, is Fast Forces Penguin. Because Fast Forces Penguin does something that most characters in Heroclix don't let you do, and that is he lets friendly adjacent characters target him with an attack. Now that does lead you to like, you know, anytime that a character has like a effect where they need to attack, or after hitting with an attack it does something, does for 25 points, it does a lot. That being said, I think the whole point of Silver Age is to let you reach back and grab these characters like 25 point Fast Forces Penguin. That does a lot, because I don't know. Like, that's like if they had banned Anarchy. They're like, yeah, having bombs placed would have been bad because, you know, it's free damage.
Like, they want the event to be as fun as possible, but if they wanted it to be more fun, they should have. And here's what I do. I do like a little bit more about this news to bring it back to the Scott Porter Online. They did make several. They have like 4 prizes for Fellowship, which is really good, which is really, really good. I was hoping, you know, they would do that, and they did. And I know that was a criticism I had last week, and I'm very happy to say I'm super, super glad that they're leaning more into the Fellowship. I wish this event was planned further out, and then they would have got all their ducks in a row, because it really feels like, and maybe it's not the way it is, but it kind of feels like they're scrambling, man, to get all this set up.
A little bit. I mean, they did not. The other part of the news that we didn't even really mention, not really worth mentioning, is the comprehensive rules came out this week, and it took them a while to come out with the comprehensive rules. And this was like, this event, had this event not been kicking off within a week, they probably wouldn't have bothered. Like, it probably would have been pushed off even further.
I don't think they would have, yeah.
Because I've been going back and forth between the core rulebook, quote unquote core rulebook. Multiple times I've said, you know, like fake news. Multiple times I've said that like the core rulebook seems like a quick start guide and less like any kind of actual tangible rulebook, and no more proof is needed than reading through the core, like the comprehensive rules, and seeing all like the differences. There's things that are like direct 1-to-1 where the core rulebook is overridden by the comprehensive rules, and I'm like, so you just didn't have it correct in the first set of rules. And that just seems very strange that you would release with a new set. Like, yes, the core rulebook works perfect for teaching a new player the basics. If that character, or if that player wants to go beyond the basics and like play in tournaments and stuff, they'll need only the comprehensive rules, because the core rulebook actually is, I mean, it's not only incomplete, it's just factually wrong in certain situations.
Mm-hmm.
The comprehensive rules, the biggest example in my opinion, the comprehensive rules clarifies that when you generate a character, whether it's like a, you know, hired flunky or a suited henchman, whichever, suited henchman more likely for this situation, you may pull from your KO area to generate that character. Like, if you only have one instance, like let's say I pull a Minotaur in Sealed for Wonder Woman, and I pull a Maxi Zeus, and I want to generate that Minotaur, and I make one, and I've got one on my sideline. I mean, it's not technically on my sideline. That's 1.1. Somebody KOs it, and then I roll, and I can generate it again. I can pull that one that was KO'd and put it on the map again. In the core rulebook, it says that you're not allowed to pull from your KO area. So it's like a 1-to-1 correlation on how they did not have it correct the first time, printed it anyways, and then had to correct it, / didn't even really address the fact that they corrected it. It's just like the comprehensive rules overrides, which is a very strange place to be in for Heroclix.
Yeah. So let's finish up Silver Age stuff just like really quickly.
I'll just say tangent that was nothing.
There's one more caveat. What it's really funny, and not to like be like, okay, Simeon, that's enough, Simeon. But I realized we talked for like an hour before the show, and neither of us even mentioned that the comprehensive rulebook came out this week. I'm a bad Heroclix podcast host. I'm sorry, guys. I'll tell you right now, I read barely none of it. And I should read it. But it's a lot to read.
It's 71 pages ish. Like,
I got a lot to
7
do.
or 8 of those pages.
I don't want to be like I'm busy, but like I'm kind of busy for these comprehensive rules.
Yeah.
So, but we'll point out a few interesting things. There were only like a handful of things that were like changed beyond the normal versus what we understood. You know, like, okay, placing object. I'm not even going to talk about it right now. Really quick to cap Silver Age. There's one more caveat. Yes, last week you can kind of ignore our Silver Age team building because they specifically say you cannot use different versions for family relation multiverse version. So what does that mean? It means we cannot take the Jim Gordon, like Secret Six Commissioner Jim Gordon, and then have the Barbara Gordon Commissioner from Batman the Animated Series because they're from two different universes. That Jim Gordon is from the Secret Six, Dark Mites, Metal, whatever universe, and that Barbara Gordon is from the weird, whatever, Batman the Animated Series universe. Yeah. So if you wanted to have it, it would have to be both the animated Gordon and the animated Barbara.
Right.
Or just the Earth X Spider-Man with the Earth X Venom. You can't say, well, Earth X Venom has Spider-Man as a dad, so I'll play any Spider-Man with it. It doesn't work. It has to be same universe. 616. With DC, it's a little more convoluted and complicated because their freaking universe has got problems.
Whatever else.
Yeah. But that's how they're doing family. So, and here's the thing.
If something was Batman animated or JLU, it's probably not the same universe as Rebirth. Now, there's a few like exceptions to that, but for the most part, things that are JLU or Batman animated are within those like animated universes, and they're not within the main DC universe. Same as like XDPS, that was a singular show within its own universe. The X-Men and like Cable and Deadpool and everything from within XDPS, they are not related to characters from 616 or like main
X-Men or whatever.
Yeah.
It also goes on to say, additionally, clones and creations are not considered appropriate to meet. I don't know why they had to use appropriate, but appropriate to meet the family requirement. So that's cool. Here's a quick hack for all you ladies and gentlemen out there. Hey, it's Fantastic Four Future Foundation 027 Woo, 15 points. Oh, hey, it's Woo's sister, brother, whatever they are. Vil, 10 points. Wow, that's 25 points of two family members on my team. Now I can build a 275-point team of whatever else I want.
Yeah. If you're okay with breaking theme, it's super easy to just throw literally just what Calder said. Vil and Woo, throw them together, and then if you're okay with breaking theme, anything else. That being said, there are still quite a few. It just feels like I'm really like shoeboxed into using more modern stuff, and I kind of hate that. I really wanted to use some older stuff, but even going like the Mighty Thor, I can't combine figures from the Mighty Thor with Thor Ragnarok movie because that's Marvel Cinematic Universe combined with Marvel, depending on which Thor I pick from the Mighty Thor or whoever I pick from the Mighty Thor. It's definitely a comic version, but like some of them aren't even from main 616 universe. So like Chase Thor, I don't even know if he's from main 616 or if that's like from a like Silver Age of comics or whatever. But yeah, it got a little bit harder. I'm fine with that, because I was already trying to build like a super thematic whatever. I originally had like a Spider-Man, Mary Jane.
That would have been so cool, but she's from What If, and that sucks. Like, all these
so like that Spider-Man works with no one. Like technically that's Aunt May, but it's from an alternate universe. It's an alternate universe of Aunt May, and we don't have the Peter Parker that was from that universe. So any Peter Parker that you use with Spider-Man in Heroclix is not correct as far as this event goes. So yeah, it just made me have to like dig a little bit deeper and build a little bit harder, which is fine. But yeah, it was a little frustrating because there was a lot of combos that I thought would be really fun and interesting. And again, you only have to have two characters technically that fit this requirement, so it's not like your whole team has to be from the same universe. But it would have been really cool to do like Spider-Mobile, Spider-Man, Spiderling.
Here's my biggest upset is that you can't do your Captain Stacy and Gwen of Arc, because I thought that was really cool.
Yeah,
and now you can't do that. It's a pretty big bummer.
yeah, getting like a lot more people into Spider-Man family would have been fun, but it is what it is. Basically, Marvel What If and DC Elseworlds probably not even worth like going through as far as like building for this event. ADW still has a ton of options. There's still like several people that are related in there. Deadpool X-Force, I don't think there's anything that works at all in there. I might be mistaken. I know Sheikla was at one point married to Deadpool. I don't think Deadpool has a kid that's clixed, like in Silver Age or Modern or either.
Child. Yeah, I don't know.
No one genetically like his. And then again, using like the Chase Deadpools, most of those are either from different universes or, again, like they just don't. You can't use Pirate Deadpool with Sheikla because that's not the Deadpool that married her, if that's like what they're checking for. But yeah, I mean, that's basically like we didn't really have a fully fleshed out what is available, what is accessible kind of thing for this event. But now it's like gotten to the point where we understand a little bit more. It has to be same universe, has to be like if it's the version that married that version of somebody or the version that had that child with somebody, it has to be, that version of that child. So if it's Franklin Richards, it can't be Reed Richards from a universe where he never met Sue Storm kind of thing.
Right.
And et cetera.
Couldn't be like a Fixer or something.
Right.
What's he called? Maker, I mean. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Same thing. But yeah, man, that's Silver. Real quick, I'm gonna jump into Scott's Pog. It's not crazy complicated, but it is pretty cool. So he has the celebrity, politician, and speedster keywords. So real quick, behind the keywords, celebrity. Yeah, Scott Porter does definitely he absolutely qualifies for that keyword. Politician. He was recently on a show called Ginny and George. Ginny and George. I don't know.
Have you not watched Ginny and Georgia? It's
No,
actually a pretty
not.
good show on Netflix. It's not like
I'll take your word for it.
I mean, it's not Invincible, but it's actually a pretty fun show on Netflix. Yeah.
You mean it's not? Whoa, it's not. And then we don't say the word Invincible, and then it just cut.
I feel like they stole that from us.
I hate that so much. That is
like they stole
so
that from us.
incredibly stupid.
We haven't even released that video, but I already feel like it was stolen.
Oh, that's right. Oh my gosh, dude. You think Ian working with
Yes.
Amazon?
Yeah, I think Ian secretly made Invincible while also making the next part of the Billion Clicks Bruce and Ranch Hand
Rowdy
saga.
Ranch Hand universe. Yeah.
I think he was like,
I don't know what to call that.
I don't either.
But like, yeah.
Listeners,
Clearly he went back in time after.
Listeners, we need
Sorry.
We need like how we refer to Marvel Cinematic Universe as the MCU.
Like the MCU.
We need that for the Billion Clicks and Rowdy Ranch Hand universe because the next video isn't Extreme Rules 2. It's not the Extreme Rules universe. Extreme Rules was just one.
Yeah.
It was like Iron Man 1, and this is Captain
It's
America.
like saying Captain America Winter Soldier. It's not the Winter Soldier universe, or it's not the Civil War universe, right? I did Extreme Rules because recently WWE had done the horror show with Extreme Rules or Addict or whatever. And so I was like, oh, we can do the Heroclix show with Extreme Rules because I thought it was just funny. But then everybody called it Extreme Rules and they call it like the Extreme Rules universe. And me and Simeon have a bad habit of calling it that too, but like not every video we make with these characters is necessarily an Extreme Rules match because not every WWE like event is Extreme Rules. You know what I mean? So anyways, if you guys want to do that, that'd be cool. That'd be great. But awesome Genie and George / Invincible / ourselves tie in.
Tangent, yes.
Yeah,
Also,
we're so great. Okay, yeah, Speedster. So he was the voice of the Flash, and then the only movie I've ever seen him in, who I didn't even know was Scott Porter, that would be Speed Racer, and he was Racer X, who I would love that movie as a child. I really liked that movie. So what does Scott Porter's dial look like? Well, first of all, he's 20 points. He is unique. He is a WizKids bystander. He has 6 range, triple target. He is a team player. That's cool. He has 7 speed with sidestep. He has an 11 attack with incapacitate. So, he's he sort of incapacitates all of Heroclix once a video gets uploaded, and everybody drops whatever they're doing and they watch that video. Which, I mean, that's what me and Simeon do.
Yeah, I know. I've been
60
incapacitated in the middle of work multiple times.
Oh, very much so. Yeah. And then he has 1 damage with a special damage power, and you're like, Calder, what does that do? And I'm like, let me tell you. It says, may all your rolls be critical hits. That's his little sign off when he does a video. So that's pretty cool that he got sort of his catchphrase, as a power. So it's sweet. Anyways, it's perplex, period. When Scott Porter uses it to target another friendly character, when that character attacks, their rolls of 10 and 11 are also critical hits this turn. This bumps your chance to roll a critical hit by like a lot, guys.
Yeah.
A lot. So
Goes
this
from
is
2
like
6s to
insane.
a 5-6, a 6-5, and a 5-5, and a 6-4.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a 4-6.
Yeah, all sorts of stuff.
There's several
6'4".
options.
6'4" is also how tall Simeon is in real life. You might not believe it, but that's true.
I do not believe it. I believe 4'6" over 6'4", but I'll take it.
Or
I'm a giant.
5'5".
Yeah.
Over that, you're not quite. You're taller.
If I
than
was
5'5".
6'4"
That's
in our Extreme Rules video, you'd be like 6'3". No, wait.
Yeah.
6'7".
No.
3 inches
Yeah.
taller. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
yeah.
You got it.
Super perplex, basically. May all your rolls
it's
be
insane.
critical hits. Then his sidestep is called Roll, ROLE, to roll. So roll to roll. Pretty fun. And then the unboxer people come to see is his incapacitate. So he's literally incapacitating you with his unboxing videos, which I just think is hilarious. And there was somebody that mentioned, like, why can Scott Porter triple target close attack incapacitate? Like, what gives him the ability to do that? And I was like, hey, if Microphone Batman can do it to an entire map wide of people, clearly Scott Porter has, he's got the chutzpah to captivate at least 3 people that are adjacent to him. Because that triple target, he can do that in adjacency, or he can triple target at range. And the thing that
it's
I
only
like,
6 range. It's the ordinary, like, standard range. So
that's
it's not
super standard range. It's not. He's not like sniping people. Although he could. I don't know who he is. But the thing that I really love about this bystander is the team player team ability. The fact that he can copy Green Lantern or Underworld or whatever, and then have a 7-speed that's not modified by carrying people, and then sidestep on top of that. It's a really solid 20 points. The 16 blank defense, I mean, he is just a man, so I would have given him toughness. I bet he can take a punch. I bet he can take some damage.
He's pretty jacked, man. Like, I think Scott Porter could take a punch. He could take one on that godlike chin he's got, I'm just saying. That sounded a little too nice to Scott Porter. Sorry.
Yeah, but I mean,
you want to make it creepy. You're a married man. But
if Scott Porter fought Scott Porter, I don't think he'd knock Scott Porter out with one punch, but the bystander does. So give the man toughness.
Agree.
Come on.
I would agree.
Give the man toughness. Yeah. But yeah, I honestly, other than that, I think it's a solid 20-point bystander. I'm not going to go as far as like some have said and say like this is necessary for every team going forwards, because there's a lot of low point options for support. It is a really awesome low point option for support. It's just not, in my opinion, it's not like the most busted thing. It's a very usable bystander. And again, we haven't mentioned it yet, but bystanders don't count towards or against theme team, I think, in the new rules. I know previously in the 2017 rules, they didn't count against theme team. So if you themed celebrity politician speedster, or you used like Marvella to get him Spider-Man family, or however you want to work that in, he would be able to use theme team probs as well, but he wouldn't like add a +1 to your theme team bonus for the map roll. But he also doesn't break themes, which is awesome. So he can be placed on like a Justice League theme team. He can be put on like a Batman family theme team, anything like that. And that's my favorite part about this bystander, is that and the team player. Yeah, for sure. No, man, I really do. I really dig it. So all right, that's Silver Age. That's Scott's Pog. I'm gonna jump into, I guess, the auction really quick.
because we're some tangenty boys tonight, guys, and I apologize for that.
Yes.
So the auction is on Auxxit. If you want to do all of that, once again, go check out the Heroclix for Huntington's page. If you type that in, it'll take you right to the website. So it's pretty easy. Really quickly. So I'm going to go top to bottom here. First up, Master Mold. All we have is this weirdly weird comic picture for some reason. It's strange because we've seen the picture of Master Mold. We know what the sculpt looks like.
Yeah.
It is 100% the one from the animated series. Like,
Mr.
we know
Penny-Kenyo
this.
was in the background of that
Twitter.
picture. So it's very strange that rather than using the actual picture of the actual sculpt that we've actually seen almost a year ago, we have a comic scan. Mm-hmm. And it's not, it's...
How funny.
I'm almost positive the Master Mold they designed, due to the coloring and everything, is from the animated series. I'm not going to say
bright colors.
It's 100% from the animated series, but it seemed like it was. It was also previewed when the animated series dropped, the XDPS set dropped. So I don't think it's reaching too far with saying it was probably animated series.
Here's one thing that I will say.
This is definitely a comic
when I was
picture,
looking... Oh, yeah, it's the comic picture, which is wrong. But I will say one thing. It's not easy to find that picture. Number one, it's in WizKids' Twitter, and it's over a year, almost 2 years now, since they posted it. And when I made my Sting video, I found out they don't actually have that many older tweets. I don't know if they had them set to delete after a while for some reason, but yeah, I couldn't find Sting's picture. I scrolled back, and I just sort of reached a block, like a wall on their Twitter, and I'm like, oh. Is there no older tweets than a year or 6 months or whatever? And I'm like, okay, weird. So I guess you would have had to go to Realms. You would have had to go to Dial Evidence for whatever con exclusives or whatever. And then you would have probably found a link to a picture that somebody else uploaded. Or, of course, check the Dial for Heroclix where we posted that, of course. Anyways, so there's the Master Mold. So if you want to bid on that, once again, the auction is going to start, I believe, this Wednesday, the 12th.
I imagine.
And then it goes until Friday, the 14th. It probably will be. But there's also a few other things that are interesting. So I'm going to skip over some lame stuff. You can win. There's up to, 6 Hyper RPG Studios maps. So there's that. There's some Superman Primes. There's some other Connollys and stuff like that. So then another interesting thing that's specific to this is Become a Switch Clicks. It says plus $0 shipping, which is cool with me. But I think that will also be a pretty expensive one as well, since there's only going to be 3 of those. And then one is winning an event. One is going to be, I believe, whatever prizing, fellowship prizing for Saturday, which is cool. There's the entire thing of JLU team-up cards, the entire thing of House of X team-up cards, Spider-Man and Venom, Absolute Carnage, Chase Prime sets, Wonder Woman 80th full set. That is a pretty freaking gnarly thing. That will be upwards of $1,000 something for the full set of Wonder Woman. Yeah. So that's crazy. So here's what's really interesting. I actually like this a lot. The Fulcrum Abominus, Brainiac and Lex, Plastic Man, and Gorilla Grodd, the AKA the buy it by the case figures, are all on this auction. So I wouldn't say use this auction as a way to gauge their price necessarily, because these are going to be the only ones available right now. So this will be their earliest price, sure. It'll give you an idea of why people want which ones more. That for sure you can take from it. But I don't think you should then, once you finally get your Fulcrum Abominus, sell it for the same price. Because although, yes, this is the only information we have on it, let's just assume here's the supply. The supply is 1, and then the demand is high, right? So the supply is only 1 right now versus when a set comes out, the supply is a couple hundred of whatever thing, or a couple thousand of a common. The supply is 1. So based on, economics and such, it's going to be a little skewed. This is going to be interesting market research for those of you interested in what these things are going to cost. Basically, it'll gauge what's the demand.
It'll be the first ones that sell when we know what the card is. Because the previous ones that sold at auction for the same charity, we didn't get the card with them. It was just the sculpt and dial, which, I mean, it's, again, and this is this whole caveat that this is all for charity goes into this. We haven't mentioned that yet, but all of this is for the charity, for Huntington's disease. So it's not just that you're bidding on the item, you're also donating that money to the charity when
going
you
to a good
bid on
cause.
these.
And
So yeah,
Yeah.
that is like a huge
so
differentiation.
people might,
I don't know.
These prices are going to be higher just because it also is going to charity. So people are going to be a little more loose with their cash because they know it's going to a good cause. So that's another thing to keep in mind. We got a Lady Phoenix up for auction. That's cool. A super pre-release for a Deadpool thing. So Deadpool is going to be the figure. This is for the X-Men Rise and Fall set. I have zero clue why it's a super pre-release, because to me, I think this is just like the play at home kit, which it is. It's what they say it is, but I don't know. I guess maybe they're saying it's a super pre-release because it's just so far out from when the set is gonna be here. In which case, it's just a play at home kit. So congratulations, you get to own this figure, which you can't play anywhere for a few months, which is neat, which is cool. Don't get me wrong, it's cool, but still can't play it. Then we have like 10 or so Scott Porter bystander pogs you can try to get. We got a couple more LEs. You can also bid to play a guaranteed Scott Porter Battle Royale. So there's that. That's kind of neat. Simeon, we got to win that one so we can interview Scott Porter and finally get him on the show.
Just spend
the only way we have to
like my
pay him
entire
money.
5-minute turn will just be asking him questions that he doesn't respond to, and then I'll be like, pass.
Yeah. And I'll be like, can you play the game? I'm like, no, I'm sorry, Scott.
Sorry, Scott.
Yeah.
I just one more question. People wrote in
One
to
more
ask
question real
you,
quick.
what's your favorite type of budino? It's a butterscotch type pudding. It's
Oh
pretty
my
good.
gosh. Oh my gosh. The fact that you worked that in. I'm peeved. We also have a Wonder Woman statue, which is, as far as I can tell, just like a statue. You would buy at like a collectible or toy shop.
Yeah.
And it's just
Like
the Wonder Woman statue.
back when I used to go to Krypton every week, this is like something that would be on one of their shelves for like $75 to $150, depending on like the rarity and how much it was sought after. It's a good sculpt. It's a cool sculpture. No idea what size it is. I imagine 1/16 or something like that.
Yeah, shipping is $20, so I imagine it'll be a bit much.
Yeah.
Pretty big.
It's thematic
another
with
cool
the
thing-
Wonder Woman 80th
It is.
releasing, so that's
It
cool.
is. Another cool thing is the Galactus. I think this is the first Galactus ever released, is also going to be for auction. I hope it actually comes with this box. That'll be really cool. A custom Heroclix tray from Jeremiah Peterson. So this is put up for auction, so which means you can normally buy these trays. He has a set rate or something. I imagine you message him. By the way, I hate it when people say, message me to find the price. Bro, list your freaking price. Anyways, but I get it. It's custom work, so it makes sense. Anyways, but this is really just, you can bid this up pretty high. But just so you know, you can buy these normally, but it is for a good cause when you buy this one specifically. And then we have a couple of these like mugs that are Heroclix for Huntington's mugs. It got some colorful comic book superhero fists pointing towards the Huntington's HDSA, whatever, Heroclix logo. And then there are also some like rock maps, I guess, also for whatever. But those are kind of the cool auction items. I'm excited for a couple of them. It was funny being in the server because then all of a sudden I see all of these names join. Specifically, famous Realmser, Monkey Joe, and then famous billionaire scoundrel, the Billion Clicks Bruce, has also joined. As well as Deathstroke 1134-5, who I imagine is the guy from Realms. And then Heroclix, also a Realmser, who we see comment on things quite a lot.
Monkey Joe
in our
of
Monkey
counting
Joe,
how many
big
times
Realms.
Monkey Joe has picked up Mjolnir and KO'd figures fame. Honestly, one of my favorite stats to see when I'm looking through
I do enjoy
a
it.
Realms user's like whatever that's called. That's like it's the little,
Their little
like
signature.
signature. Yes, signatures aren't things that people use in like text anymore, so it's a very old format. But Monkey Joe's like signature is one of the better ones.
Dude, it's funny. I like it a lot. So, hey, that's that. We managed to get through all the news we planned out this week, which is pretty darn amazing, ladies and gentlemen. So now we're going to sort of mess around with building within 300 modern. We talked about building within silver last week. Sadly, with all the changes, you can't use a lot of that. advice we gave you. However, if you still want to play the power pack and be severely undercosted, I will still pay for your entry if you do such a thing. As well as, honestly, if you play Ric Flair and Charlotte Flair and then just some WWE stuff, which is still totally legal, because guess what? That's all in the same universe, baby.
I don't
you can still
remember.
do that.
According to kayfabe, I don't remember if Kane and Undertaker were actual brothers,
Still
or
brothers?
if they were like stepbrothers. They might have been stepbrothers, which would bar entry because of the non-genetic like part of the brotherhood, I guess.
Right.
But yeah, Charlotte and Ric Flair are legitimate blood relations, so that's
Yes, in real life and in the WWE universe. So we're safe. We're safe there. Anyway, so 300 Modern. I'm going to call to mind some things that you guys will have to look out for a little bit in 300 Modern. So how does Wonder Woman change? And I know they're like, whoa, I've never heard Kalder and Simeon say the words 300 Modern Age so much on a podcast.
Well, I think before we even get into like Wonder Woman, let's go over some super bare basics.
Ooh.
If you're going from casual to modern 300 competitive.
Okay, that's a good call. That's a good call.
There's retaliation. Sometimes power, sometimes free, usually on colossals, which are like 2x2s. It's basically, if it's free, it says like something along the lines of, if a friendly character was damaged since last turn, or this character was targeted since last turn, free, make an attack doing XYZ. That's a big thing in Heroclix competitive. Retaliation's pretty big. Things like Dark Phoenix, that's one that you should know if you're moving into competitive play. That's one that's like really big. You should know what Dark Phoenix does and know why it does it and like how that triggers. It's not something that you want to get into a tournament and then get caught off guard with. Wonder Woman specifically, there's two big characters, quote unquote big characters, that do these retaliation things. And those are both Giganta. The Giganta 037 and her Prime. The non-Prime has power. If no other friendly character has been placed this turn, choose an opposing character that attacked Giganta or damaged a friendly character since your last turn. Place her such that she can make a close attack targeting a chosen character, then do so. If Giganta is on a theme team, this trait is activated as free instead. So that works with Secret Six. That works with all of our other theme words. Other characters like Starro comes to mind. Starro has a 20-point line for retaliation. Haven't seen it used very often, but he's got like a 10 range retaliation where he can use mind control. So not all of them are close like this. The Prime Giganta, on the other hand, this is a very different one. So this is power. Choose an opposing character that attacked a friendly character that attacked a friendly character or that was attacked by a friendly character named Wonder Woman. So this is, I think, the first and only example where we've seen a retaliation that can pop off by your force attacking an opposing force. And this is very important as far as what can shape the current modern meta, because you can have Shifting Focus Wonder Woman make a free attack with one of the equipments, and then you can also in that same turn have this Giganta retaliate because they've been attacked by Wonder Woman since your last turn. You place Giganta such that she can make a close attack targeting the chosen character and then do so. Other things, let's see, what's another really big thing for Modern 300? Sideline is pretty important. Typically, it used to be ID cards. Now it is mostly trouble alerts and troublemakers. The troublemakers are if your squad, if your team hits 3 times or crit hits an opponent on the third hit or on the crit hit, the character that delivers that blow can call in a troublemaker. Troublemakers do a variety of different things. I think there's 6 of them. Is that right? About 6. And they do different things from like mind control, empower, enhancement, outwit. Like there's a lot of different things. There's also Vulcan, who's a troublemaker that can just penetrating poison and then potentially punch you.
Trouble alert.
2. Is he a trouble alert? So
he's a trouble alert. Yeah.
So
he's a good guy.
Alternatively, for the trouble alerts, you have to miss 3 times. or crit miss. And so crit misses are a little bit different in competitive play because usually a character that, I wouldn't say usually, but if a bystander or let's say like a retaliator, somebody that's only one click long, crit misses, they're going to be gone off the board before they can call the troublemaker in,
Right.
or the trouble alert in.
It will still count as a miss for your turn, though. So it's
Yes,
not
it
the
will
worst,
count as a
but
miss. It
you
just
won't be able to bring it in with them, so
Right.
it sucks because they're dead.
So sideline, as far as modern is concerned, that's pretty much the only sideline you really have to worry about. There is shifting focus. There is literally the only figure that sidelines pieces for no specific reason is Jason Wingard, who can sideline pieces that can make bystanders. And in those instances, you just need to know what kind of bystanders they're going to be able to bring in. For Jason Wingard, you just, it's usually like a TK. If it's Isaac, it's a TK barrier and like Psychic Blast bystander.
Running shot, side blast. Yeah.
But every time a bystander is released, Jason gets like that extra thing that he can now do. So that's always like a good option. Like the rookie bystander that we talked about a few weeks ago, who's just phenomenal, has Batman ally police team ability, 11 for 3 with Psychic Blast and running shot, 7 range, and he's giant so he can roll for his own willpower. That's something that Jason can potentially bring in for the entirety of until XDPS rotates out of Modern, which hopefully will only be like 1 year from now. But in Silver, that's just always going to be a thing. Outside of that, I think that's pretty much it for additional stuff. If you don't play with a lot of equipments in like your home venue or whatever, if you've never experienced a lot of equipments, you've never like played equipping characters, that's something that you really need to know for competitive play.
So equipment's really simple.
Yeah.
And I've seen lots of people make it way more complicated than it needs to be. You don't have to move to the object, sit there for a turn, power action, pick it up, and then clear. And then it's like, oh, it took me 3 turns. I gave this character 2 tokens and had to clear them. So really quick, equipping a light object or a heavy object. In order to do this style of equipment, you need to have super strength for a heavy object. And in order to do it for both, you need to have sidestep. So you need a character with at least, 4 or so speed. They move up 4 or 5. I don't think it's crazy big, but anyways, they move up to the object. They can be a square before the object. They just have to move adjacent to it or into the square. And then they move back. They end their movement. You give them a token. Then they can sidestep, drop the object into an adjacent square, so a friendly character square, and that character can power action pick it up. So now that character has been equipped. Your character that needed to be equipped didn't move. The other guy is back in the starting area, so if you want to pick them all up, carry them in a taxi, they can go. You can do the same thing with a heavy object. You just need to have super strength on the character for sidestep. Alternatively, if you have
TK,
maybe a WWE wrestler or TK, you just need to have line of fire to the object and then to your buddy. You go ahead, you TK the object, they power action, pick it up. Simple as. Because objects still have to start 5 away from your starting area. That was cleaned up in the comprehensive rule book we now have.
Yes.
So like that's good. In the case of like a WWE figure, which you're not going to play a lot of those in Modern, you can just grand entrance on top of the object and pick it up or something to that nature. If I have a WWE character on my team that has grand entrance and sidestep, he can grand entrance and then drop it. And then that was totally free to pick up the object. And that's also, the whole sidestep move thing can also be free if you have a Pog or a character that is autonomous. So that would be like Mary Jane's bystanders, the paparazzi. They're very, very good at getting Pogs. They're 15 points. They take no actions from your action total when they do this. Super easy. Right. So that is how to quickly equip objects for special
equipping objects.
Now,
should always be if your whole game plan is equipping objects, it should always be able to be done in
turn
the first
1.
turn, and that's it. Like if it takes you 2 turns to equip an object, then just plan on not playing that object. It's completely a waste. Your opponent's going to probably score it. There's a lot of things. Also, anybody that moves out of your starting area to grab an object and bring it back, they are 100% able to be shot or like KO'd.
Yes.
That's
First turn, yeah.
that next turn. So you don't get first turn immunity for anyone that moves out of your starting area. That's a big thing. Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much it for current Modern. There's probably like some other things, but knowing what first turn immunity is and how it works, how like, you know, generated figures, if they're generated in a square, they have first turn immunity in that square unless they move outside of that square. Having characters that can either TK your object back, or, you know, maybe you're going to like move up with this character and bring it back, and you're okay with your opponent potentially KOing that character. As long as like the rest of your squad is fine, you know, knowing how first turn immunity works, knowing basically if you go second, you're always at a disadvantage. That's a huge, it's a huge competitive thing, is if you're going second, your opponent will always be able to strike you first if they want to, unless their team just is severely under-ranged and they can't get across the board. But in most instances, being second player is always like a just huge downside. That's not like it's not really a thing you can really plan for now, because at most you can get a +3 over your opponent, so you can't like guarantee that you go first, but it is something to consider. Competitive players usually practice on like a map that's much worse for their team than what they would typically pick for their team, because if you're going first, you have the advantage. If you're going second, you need to be able to prepare for the disadvantage that you have.
Yes.
And survive that.
So you do have a disadvantage of going second. However, you also have a sort of slight advantage. Now, it's not as good of an advantage anymore because maps are crazy symmetrical nowadays for whatever reason, but you do get to choose your starting area. And then also, under these rules, your opponent sets up all their figures in their starting area and their objects before you have to set up. So if for some reason the way they set up would change how you would set up, for like if your character's like, oh, it looks like they're probably going to go more towards that side of the map, well, then I'm going to want to put my characters on this side of the starting area, etc. You do have that now. So it is pretty cool. They specifically said that in the rules. Also in the rules, greet your opponent. I had someone be like, if anyone said, hey, Doug, my opponent didn't greet me, you know what? Good. Call the judge. No, disqualify him. They shouldn't be a jerk. Don't be a humongous douche canoe. Greet your opponent. Be a man. Be a gentleman. Be a lady. Greet your opponent. Be a human being. Be a normal human being.
It's very strange, unless you have like some super built up animosity with like, you know, your opponent. I have no idea why you wouldn't be like, hi, how's it going? Like, this is my team, you know, blah, blah, blah. My name's like so-and-so if I've never met you before. You know, if you have met them before, then clearly you have like some sort of rapport built up.
Just be like, yo, what's up? How's it hanging, bro? Dude, like, hey, glad to see you. Glad we're playing against each other.
If me and Kalder ever play in a tournament, it's always, oh, this guy again, great.
This guy,
and then you yell at the judge and we're like, hey, can we get a different matchup, please? I feel like conceding because I don't want to play against this. Like,
do you have many? I did not concede.
I consider that. I consider that greeting your opponent. If you tell,
I would say,
if you tell the judge
do you
don't
acknowledge your opponent's existence?
Yes.
Pretty much greeting your opponent. Hey, you know, say a word. Don't be like, I'm like, okay, bro, let's calm down. We're playing a game of stupid little superheroes. Let's chill out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
that's the bare basics map. Competitive wise, because we've never truly gotten in, and that's just things that you should be super aware of going forward into like current modern competitive, which is something we try not to do. I think there's really I think there's really only like 4 competitive builds that are like 300 modern viable currently. And people can disagree with me. So I already know there's some solid Herald and like Lantern core stuff. So a lot of the Lanterns also have Herald. And the fun thing about Herald, like Atlantis, is it crosses into Marvel and DC. So the latest Heroclix, or the latest Marvel Fantastic Four Future Foundation, and the previous just regular Fantastic Four, both have heralds in that set. There's also Exodus from XDPS. No idea why he has herald, but I'm guessing Galactus kind of things. And then all of the Lantern Chases from Wonder Woman 80th all have herald. So there's already a really good crew. And then you've got your pre-made carrier / taxi with Jessica Cruz, who's 50 points, or Chip, or the super rare Green Lantern, or whatever. Herald it's a solid sleeper kind of team.
I think
and
so
I'm not gonna
too.
lie.
I like Herald.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't know exactly how it works, but I know 100% characters that can move their full speed and then drop a bystander are just inherently good. Guy Gardner being able to move 9 or be carried,
or be carried.
Yeah,
by
be
Chip
carried like
or
10
Green Lantern
by Jessica, and then just drop a chainsaw that flurry blades.
Don't say her name.
That's
really do
inherently
Howard
good.
Chip in this house. Yeah, dude, it's great. Like, are you serious? Like, it's dope. It's super good reach, and they're pretty well protected if you choose to use the Hal Jordan Green Lantern.
Yeah,
to move them up, really solid.
19
Also,
defend,
if you do some, like, all the lanterns have heralds, you can also play a Sinestro to have some barrier. Is it Sinestro with the stop sign? Whoever has the stop sign.
It's the
play
stop
some
sign.
barrier,
You drop the stop sign, and it's not a what is it? It's not autonomous, but if you leave room for that action, then yeah, the stop sign drops barrier as well. So, and then I mean, to go along with that, the stop sign also stops people from bursting through barrier. So that's something. It's not nothing.
That's true.
But that's a potential team to look out for. A Lantern team that can move up, drop bystanders, and attack you. Alpha Strike is probably one of my favorite types of HeroClix teams, just because I'm like, let's get to it, and then we just start rolling dice right off the bat. I like those kind of teams, so I'm cool with that. Another team with Wonder Woman 80th, we already talked up all of the Secret Six chases enough, but Secret Six is pretty oppressive.
It's bad.
Scarab
it's one of the worst things to happen to this game in a while.
Scarab being able to draw a line of fire
honestly
through any object means you can carry an object, or Scarab can TK an object from that object. So I could, with 2 Scarabs on my team, I could see your opposing object, TK at 6. My other Scarab could see that object, TK at another 6, and now that object is potentially starts 5 away from your starting area. Now it's 17 squares from your starting area, and that's assuming it's an object that's not destructible.
You know what else you can do? You can just place your objects in front of your opponent's. No, you just place your objects in front of your opponent's starting area. Yeah. And then it's like, well, I'm going to shoot you next turn unless you waste actions destroying the objects. So have fun with that.
You can also,
you had equipment on your team?
Yeah.
Well, are you going to equip it, or are you going to shove it in the corner of a map so I can't shoot you? Are you scared? Are you scared? That's what the Scarab does. He
also,
guarantees
assuming you're
full
playing
full map reach against
something like
setups.
Exospecs aren't indestructible. So for 12 points, if you go against a Scarab team and they go first, just imagine your Exospecs, you're automatically down 12 points and you're automatically out of that equipment. So whichever character was depending on that equipment is just out of luck. Luckily, you can't TK destroy anymore, but it's not too hard to get Scarab to a 3 damage. And on the off chance that it's an indestructible, like a ring or something that they really don't want you to have, they can TK it away. They can make it way harder for you to equip. And that's not all that makes
for line of fire. So he can outwit through it. He can TK through it. He can shoot you through it. It's pretty gnarly. It's pretty bad. It's pretty rough.
Scarab is hardly what makes Secret Six the worst thing to go up against. But
no. One quick big point, he can still only deal you a maximum of 1 damage when he does shoot you. However, that's enough to take out your 1-click retaliation, so you wasted 30, 15 points, whatever. You're not careful with placement. Dealing 1 damage can hurt you a lot. That's Scott Porter Pog. That's 20 points, and he could shoot it right away, So Scarab's a little rough.
Yeah.
He's a little rough. But that's just Scarab. Another really big one Before we actually go crazy into that, the Secret Six trait is probably what makes them probably the toughest. It gives them all outwit. So this is an entire team of outwit, which is already really strong. And now you're thinking, well, some characters are protected outwit, or they have power cosmic. But wait, there's more. So they modify their attack value +1 when attacking one or more characters with a shared keyword. They all have a lot of generic keywords. So they all have Dark Knights and Secret Six, but Scarab alone has armor, deity, monster, and ruler. Other ones have like warrior and stuff like that. So there's quite a few generic keywords they each have. And then if there are 6 or more friendly characters with the Secret Six keyword on your force, opposing characters can't use Protected Outwit or Safeguard Outwit. So you have Power Cosmic. Sorry, bro. That sucks to suck there. So it's like, this is probably the rough part about how I can't really run Super Scrolls, because it's cool when I have 3 rollouts. It's not so cool when you outwit all of them and then just murder a Super Scroll because he's got 17 toughness without it. So, like, they have a lot of outwits. And then Secret Six also has 2 of those retaliators we talked about. Both Gigantas are Secret Six, and they're also very cheap, 25 and 30 points, and they're not one-click retaliators either. So they help inflate the amount of characters Secret Six can have on their team. If your Secret Six team only has 6 characters exactly, it's not a great idea. It's good to have a couple so they can keep using their outwit to the fullest effect. Really quickly, let's talk about King Shazam. I think he'll mostly be used at 50 points to fill out space on a Secret 16 because he's a solid attacker. You can outwit his Shazam power. So the Shazam power gives him immune the first time this click is revealed. Yeah, you have to outwit it first. So it's going to give him immune once he lands on it. He'll have it until your next turn. And then he can power and whatever, go back to wherever he was on his dial. But if you want to just nuke him right away, you can go ahead and outwit that power, outwit his defense, or deal him some penetrating, and then you can just sort of kill him. And it's like, well, you can go to that click, and then I can shoot you again, or you can just let me kill you. They'll probably go to that click to deal you another Mystics damage at the very least. Yeah. But yeah.
The reason why this works is the new wording for outwit says choose a standard power that character possesses, or a special power printed on their card. And so since Shazam's, any character's special power is printed on their card, but that means any power that would grant you something when it's revealed, if you outwit it prior to it being revealed, the power is gone and therefore cannot give you immune. So Shazam in particular, you would be able to outwit with a regular outwit. This isn't like a special outwit, or this isn't like a Secret Six getting rid of protected outwit or anything. This is just a regular outwit can get rid of his attack power because it's a special power printed on his card. And then when that power is revealed, he doesn't get the immune. It just, nothing happens. He's just...
So you can't outwit a stop click before you get there. You can't do that. You can do this power just because of how it's specifically worded. You can't outwit a stop click before that because it has protected outwit. But this power you can because it doesn't have immune until it's revealed. So
yeah,
kind of neat. Sky Tyrant, he is a full square charge with flurry, with penetrating quake at 45, penetrating blades at top, and then if he kills something, which he ought to, he can go ahead and he won't die. So the first time he's KO'd, he'll just go to click 7. So if he really racks up those tokens, he'll just be really nutty. So he's an 11 for 3, and it's pretty easy to bump up his stats, either with the Power Gem or Scarab. Scarab doesn't have any Perplex or anything like that, but he can copy another character's thing. So that means if you run like a bunch of Scarabs and you give one person like Reality Gem, or you give one person, well, he doesn't have prob, so like the Time Gem or anything else, right? You can give Scarab that same object, and so you'll have a ton of prob on your team, seeing line of fire through objects or whatever. It's just kind of says Scarab is bonkers, but it's also just, there's a lot of stat manipulation that can happen to Sky Tyrant where he could very well Power Gem, he becomes an 11 for 4 or a 11 for 5 or a 13 for 5 on either point value. And that's pretty scary. He also gets a +1 attack if you share Brute, Injustice Society, Monster Pass, Secret Six, or Warrior keywords, which is a pretty nice amount of keywords.
Yeah.
So yeah,
not for nothing.
That's pretty tough.
Sharing.
Yeah, it's not for nothing.
Keywords.
Commissioner, He pops out the rookie pog. We've talked about him a lot. The rookie is really good. It's got an 11 attack, penetrating psychic blast. It's a giant. It can remove tokens off himself. He can only do that once per game. Sure. He's also the Secret Six's source of outwit. Sorry, not outwit. Goodness gracious. They all have outwit except for one Giganta. Leadership. He's their source of leadership, which is pretty big. He is relatively easy. So I will say this about the Secret Six guys. They have crazy range. They do. Between full square charges, between TKs from objects, between Scarab shooting from objects, they have crazy, crazy reach. And they have retaliation, which makes them a very formidable team. However, their defenses are made out of pretty much paper. They themselves aren't protected at wit. They also have very short dials. If you're playing, to get 6 or more of these people on the same team, there won't be a lot of them at full points, depending on how they build. We haven't mentioned Deathbringer or Supergirl because you probably won't see them. They're just not that great. No offense. Point wise and with what they do and everything, they don't add to the crazy reach or whatever. But the ones we're talking about will definitely see play. But for the most part, King Shazam would be the hardest one to kill, or Sky Tyrant if he gets reincarnation tokens. So
right,
it's not too terrible to actually kill these guys.
If you're going second against Secret Six, you better have either some really stout defenses or some really good barrier. We didn't really... Basically, I don't think we're going to go into high barrier tech teams as far as meta is concerned. But Molecule Man and Marvella, things that can drop a ton of barrier, it's great for protecting yourself. But if all your team can do is protect yourself, you're going to go 0-0, and that's not great. So you need to have a combination of like, hey, I can survive this when going second without needing just 50 points of your team sucked up into a barrier, because at some point, even with Marvella and Molecule Man, you're gonna need some actions for barrier. Like, Molecule Man can drop quite a bit of barrier for free, but it's not infinite, and eventually you're gonna roll a 1. Right. 2 Marvellas is decent, but at some point they're gonna have to clear action tokens, that kind of thing. And then Secret Six also, it doesn't have to be ran. So now that unnamed theme teams are just as good as theme teams, a group of warriors is just as coordinated as the Justice League, as some man would say. You can run a mostly Secret Six team and make it a monster theme team, because they all have the monster keyword. You can make it a monster theme team, and rather than throwing those Gigantas on, you can throw on Mole Man or what's that awful Wendigo. You can throw on some 15-point Wendigos.
Oh yeah, Wendigo is real bad.
You won't get the,
to be fair, those characters
protected outwit thing.
You're saying it, yeah.
Yeah, you won't get the +6 friendly characters. Opposing characters can't use protected or safeguard outwit, but you still have just so much offense with Secret Six that sometimes it doesn't even matter. Like, I don't even need to outwit like you're impervious or you're invincible if I'm just hitting you for a ton of damage and Sky Tyrant's scooting all the way back to my starting area, or if I'm just zapping your equipment right off the bat and making you come to me, that kind of thing.
It is, dude. It's tough. It's a little hard knock life here to play against Secret Six. It's got the reach. So what's the best thing you can do? Honestly, win map. If you can put them on Ancient Hold, it will greatly how far they can go. Because the TK lines aren't great there.
Yeah.
It's really rough.
Also, Mr. Oz is still
sort of mess them up.
Mr. Oz is still
Mr. Oz.
legal. So as far as shooting Sky Tyrant up, Sky Tyrant has a 11 speed charge that's not halved, so they really only need 2 TKs against Mr. Oz is still giving them a 19 square reach. So I don't know if Mr. Oz really nerfs the team, but at the least he can
the reason I would
prob through stuff.
A map so heavy with barrier or not barrier, but so heavy with blocking is it makes your barrier have a lot better life. Number one, it's indoors, so Sky's Heron can't fly over your barrier. It also means it's going to be a lot tougher for anybody else to get to you as you go up. So like placing your barrier next to a door just guarantees they're not really going to get to you this turn, because then they can't see that barrier to blow it up. They can't fly over the barrier because it's indoor map,
Right.
etc.
Can't go through the door. Yeah.
Ancient Hold, very, I would say very strong map against them. Any indoor map with lots of blocking is a very, very solid map. Or if you just have so much barrier they can't get adjacent to you, that's also a good call. You know, it's just
if you disrupt
it's kind of the
their
same thing
not
when
only
you play
their
against
lines
Vulture.
of fire.
If you were used,
Go ahead. Yeah.
well, I'm just saying, if you were used to playing against Vulture, which sadly we had to because he was never changed at all
No,
in the past 2 years. Yeah, if you were used to playing against him, you understand you got to barrier up, you got to watch where you're at, be aware of him, and then once you are safe for that turn, you have to take out as much as you can. Your next turn, attacks need to hit.
Yeah.
And I know it's hard to do. It's hard to do.
And to go into
because sometimes it doesn't work like that. But yeah. Keep going, Simeon.
So I don't want to try and tackle every meta topic that's possible, but one meta, like I wouldn't even say meta, one just competitive type of play is knowing how to body block. So let's say I've got like a 0 point pog that I generate and I can regenerate, or whatever, or maybe it's like the commissioner's rookie that he can generate, and I'm okay with losing the rookie. Maybe I don't want to lose the rookie, but I'm okay with losing it if it means my opponent doesn't score points on me. I can use the fact that the rookie is a giant-sized character to block line of fire or block like adjacency. So it's like, all right, if they are gonna like get adjacent to anyone, they get adjacent to the rookie, and that's it. That's just one example, but there's plenty of examples of like low point figures, Fantastic Four and Future Foundation. All of those like figures have great potential for body blocking, and that's literally just a figure blocking not only line of fire but also adjacency. So it works better than barrier because they can't really just blow up a character. They can just KO a character, but it usually takes more than 3 damage. So it's a little bit harder than just like a piece of blocking. Plus they have to roll to actually attack it and stuff like that. Whereas with like a barrier, they just have to have 3 damage or more and take a power action. So those are options. Body
Make
blocking.
them roll dice.
Yeah. Body blocking is like one of my favorite things to do, where I'm like, here's my front line where it's like fine to KO these characters because I've got some actual attackers behind them. So if you waste all of your actions attacking these guys, I've got like a follow-up plan kind of thing.
Totes.
But yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on Secret Six just because
but people
it's a
do need to
very
be aware
like
of things
forward
that can happen.
heavy.
And this goes for
yeah.
the meta at any time. You need to be aware of what's out there. And yeah, it sucks because there have been no major events played with this set since anything, unless I think there might be some weekly rock events that might happen. But and then there's no websites anymore, besides ones you got to pay money for, that post teams that are winning. You need to know what's out there. You need to ask your friends, your friends' friends. Heck, ask on Facebook. I hate to be that guy and post what's good in like a Facebook thing because a lot of people kind of don't want to tell you. Some people will. Just being real, like some people don't want to say what's good because they feel like they can't win unless there's a surprise element. If you're a good player, you should be able to win with your opponent knowing exactly what your team is.
Yeah.
Maybe not knowing how it works,
and as far
but knowing
as
exactly what your team is, you should still be able to win.
If you've got like 3 punches on your Subway punch card, I'm pretty sure Phoenix Nest lets you in to their team.
I believe that is true.
Yeah, it's like hardly takes any actual effort to join Phoenix Nest, and then you get to like know all of their insider knowledge, which is infinitely
right.
more
You got to be in their
Calder can tell you.
Exclusive Discord. That's true. It is infinitely more. So yeah, like that's just it's very, very important. And that is where it's important to do your research to understand what's up. It's important to understand like what maps are being played. And you can normally find a lot of these build sheets places. Clicked Off Discussion is the biggest group for HeroClix meta discussion on Facebook, like just fact.
Yeah.
So like there's that you can use as a resource. There used to be on the Rock, they would post the things that win rocks. Why is that important, Calder? Because they do 300 modern tournaments weekly. That's why that's important.
It's also important to, if you're actually trying to get into the competitive, it is important to test your team before you get to the event. Because I played like a King Shark team with no IDs where I was like, King Shark's just real good. I'm just going to give him water, let him move up, and like do stuff like that. And I think it was Wes Summers was playing the like Shredder, Fast Forces Shredder that can't be targeted from X squares and it's like 150 points. And this was back when ID cards were available. And I was like, well, doesn't matter. Like, I'm just going to, move up like 9 squares for free because I'm King Shark. And he was like, all right, I'm going to call in Harley and just blow up your whole idea of what you're doing, give you 2 action tokens. And I was like, that's why this team won't work. So it's great to like to have a good idea, have like an idea that you can either workshop or like you just think it's like a really great idea, and then just completely get curb stomped into the ground and be like, either I have to change this idea drastically or I just have to like start from scratch and start over. Because there's some teams that 100% you just can't really play. My Green Lantern Molly Hayes drop-off team was fun. It was not in any way, shape, or form competitive because they would just blow up my Green Lantern and be like, all right, now you can walk your Molly Hayes all over the map, taking 4 or not even 4. I didn't have leadership, so it was like take 3 actions to move 3 of your Molly Hayes. Make sure you clear them because you can't take 2 actions in a row. So yeah, like stuff like that. It's a great idea on paper. It seems really fun on paper. It's great to practice it though before an event because then you get a real idea of what's actually going to be like the real crux of the team.
Yeah, totally. Because there are games where it's like, well, what happens if I lose this character right away? And you won't be. It's like Mike Tyson or whoever says it. You have a plan until you get punched in the mouth. So like play a game and just be like, let's say your opponent moves up, get into a natural position. Don't just say you don't start the game with the character, because for the most part, that's unrealistic. Get into a position and then be like, okay, let's say I move this character and I instantly kill your character, but make sure it's legal, make sure it makes sense, and be like, so what can you do now that character is gone? You got to think about that. You have to think about, what if your opponent gets here? What if that character does? What if that character is taken away somehow right away because your opponent has a crazy reach or whatever? You have to think about that, because you can't just be like, here's how my crazy, wicked, cool strategy works because it does this character does this thing, which matches with this thing. And it's like, well, that's cool and all, but if that character can't do that thing, what does that character do now? So like, it's important to have a plan B, to think of all these different ways. I'm not saying it's a freaking chess game or anything like that. It's more in depth than chess. That's for sure. It's harder than chess. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Chess nerds might get mad. But anyways,
I think it's fair to say it's harder than chess, because
I would say so.
At least on the
skills,
surface,
I would say
because chess has like chess has like set
is
moves
higher than
counters
chess.
To moves.
Easy. Yeah.
Heroclix, if you didn't build quite correctly, or if like you just meet a team that is like the scissors to your paper, or like the rock to your scissors or whatever, Heroclix is like very unforgiving if you've built away from like a certain other build and they're just like the perfect build to counter you. Whereas in chess, you always know what your opponent has available. You can always plan. So yeah, I think Heroclix, I wouldn't say it's more difficult than chess as far as the competitive goes, because it's just, there's less years for Heroclix than there is for chess. But there's way more just differences. There's way more like opportunities for builds and stuff. So like your opponent could always be working with like 3 queens instead of an entire row of pawns, and like 3 queens really changes up the chess meta. So like if you're playing regular chess, your opponent having more queens than you is going to be way more awful. But yeah, I think that Heroclix really just really like it ends up being a more rock paper scissors match most of the times if you're building correctly in the meta. And that's why I don't typically build meta teams. Like I try and build outside the box, and it's just like, well, like your outside the box idea didn't work against XYZ. And XYZ is great, except, you know, X beats Y, Y beats Z, Z beats X. And so if it's that kind of meta, then it's like, well, unless you build XYZ, then you're always outside the box and you're always going to lose kind of thing, barring like, you know, some random types builds. That being said, things like mission points still unviable for competitive play. As much as I want them to be, I just don't think they're going to be there. And then one team I guess we haven't gotten into yet is I think Kalder has more experience with this than I do, but the Wonder Woman shifting focus team is pretty viable. More viable than I thought when I first looked at
I
the
like
set.
to do things. You know what I can't do when I play against the Wonder Woman team? Things.
Yeah.
And normally I like to do things when I play Heroclix. So let's go into that. Honestly, I might make a video just explaining how her shifting focus with her objects works. But very, very simply here. Wonder Woman. So she has only shifting focus versions. And every time they begin the game, and she has a trait, which is Princess Themyscira. Wonder Woman may start the game with any Wonder Woman equipment equipped. So there's the Wonder Woman you get right away. She can start with whatever equipment. Once you shift to a different character, that character now gets to start with a different equipment, which is cool. Also, all the objects are also shifting equipment themselves, which means once you shift to a new Wonder Woman, so let's say you have this Wonder Woman on your team, she can do something with the object, shift into a new Wonder Woman, that character, the same object, do the same thing, and then shift to a different object, and then just have it there. Why is this good? Here's why it's good. It's because the Lasso of Truth gives her a free attack. So the Lasso of Truth is Incapacitate with a range value of 4 is free. When the equipped character uses it, if they have the Wonder Woman ally team ability, each opposing character adjacent to the original target becomes targets. So if you have a Green Lantern carry up your whole team, they have to be placed adjacent. So unless you sidestep them all the way and like scatter or something, you know, they're all going to be adjacent, which means she can go up. And this is a free action, so she can be TK'd, and then she can do a move action, or she can do whatever to get all up in your grill. She can free, incap your whole team, and then she can shift focus, give that character the lasso. It's a different character. Activate the same free action. I know, it sucks. Incap your team again. And then that Wonder Woman, guess what? That Wonder Woman made an attack. And you know who retaliates against people just when Wonder Woman attacks? Oh, yeah, that's right. Giganta does.
Yeah.
What does Giganta do when she retaliates? Oh, she only uses Quake, and when she targets 2 or more people, she deals her printed damage value, which is a 3 at 25 points, or a 4 at 75 points, if you so wish to be as bold and savage and be an 11 for 4. And then, what happens after she uses Quake? Oh, that's right. She gives an action token to each hit character. So not only are you getting incapped, then you're getting your whole team hit for 4 damage or 3 damage, depending on the Giganta they play. Then you're all double tokened, which means, okay, you didn't hit them first, you didn't hit them hard, and now you have to totally clear next turn, and you can't retaliate to any of that stuff when, guess what?
And
because it's all free actions,
you're saying,
it gets to happen over again.
You're like,
Yay.
Okay, well, they double actioned me. I'll clear, and then I'll just, punch them after their next turn. They're not going to KO my whole team.
Right.
Except then that Wonder Woman free incaps, shifting focuses, free incaps again. Giganta free retaliates again, or power retaliates. That one's power. So power retaliates again. And then, if anybody is still alive, they've probably got 2 action tokens on them. So, at this point in the game, had you positioned poorly, you are completely sunk. Your opponent has 3 chances to completely, fully double action you each turn. Well, really, it's like 2 chances. because they have to double action, or they have to single action you once and then double action you again. But they're also dealing full damage with Giganta, who has Outwit. So on the off chance that any of your characters have a decent reducer, she's getting rid of it, dealing full 3 damage.
To be fair, she can't do that when she first retiles because she'll be across the map.
Right.
She has to retile and then
this
she
is
can
like
outwit. But once they're all up
turns.
in you, subsequent turn for sure. Yeah,
because
and
like,
Wonder Woman
once this pops off, it just keeps going. Like, it's all right. I have to clear these 5 people that I grouped together, and then it happens again, and then it happens again, and it's like, unless you have sidestep, you're not moving away because you're not able to take any power actions. You're completely double actioned. So yeah, this is a 100% viable strategy that your opponent might use, and honestly, like, it's one of the better ones. This is up there with Secret Six, where if against a Secret Six team, if this Wonder Woman team goes first and they're able to double action token a bunch of the Secret Six, they might win. Like, it might be a like 9-10 ratio where the Wonder Woman shifting focus wins in this situation.
Yeah. And you got to keep in mind whether or not Giganta's at 75 or at 25, that's only either a third of the build or half the build. So you can do like some flashes for cheap, and you can get Wonder Woman to TK out 6, 2 squares. That inflates her reach to 8. Then she'll have like a 10 or 11 movement, which is like 19. Oh, and then she has 4 range, which is 10 whatever square. She can see the whole map because then you start 2 squares away anyway. So it goes 19 and then it goes 23 and you start wherever. So Wonder Woman can get to the whole map with specifically a flash TK, which means she can do the entire map. And then, and that is if she has to move her full speed. If you've moved up already, she can then charge and hit you, or running shot and hit you with a different shifting focus Diana, So it's just a tough team. You need to just understand that it can do that in order to position correctly, to barrier, to not be on an outdoor map. Once again, these teams are very strong on outdoor maps. So theme's a little risky right now. I would still lean on the edge of either build theme or have a really, really, really good retaliator to mess with them, or potentially, I don't know if she's worth it, but maybe even better than building theme is the She-Hulk Legacy card, being able to re-roll and then add a +1. So, that'll guarantee that your opponent only gets a +2. Yeah, your She-Hulk, you can't build theme, but that means your opponent only has a +2 up on you because you'll get a +1 with her and you'll get a re-roll. Your opponent doesn't get a reroll. It's a very important thing to understand with She-Hulk. Your opponent doesn't get a reroll. You don't both reroll. Just you reroll with a +1. And that's only if you would lose. So first they get a +3 against you. And that's not really a guarantee either. I think She-Hulk's probably the best way to sort of quote unquote guarantee you in map. But if not, build a 6 or higher theme. If you're worried about Secret Six.
Yeah, number of theme isn't as important.
Characters.
It's
not as important.
A 13 or
it's
a
tough.
14 or 10 or 9, not as important, because at most you're gonna have a +3, and +3 isn't nothing. It won't guarantee you map, but
it kind of do be the standard.
Give you a huge advantage on map. And then I think the last actual like not named, but the last actual like kind of team that I'll name off, other than like generic stuff, because obviously Alpha Strike, Barrier, things like that. If you don't know what like an Alpha Strike team looks like, just look at like old Alpha Strike teams, something that carries your team pretty much the full map, and then you can drop some stuff off or attack. We don't really have, there's no SAM cap in Modern. We don't have anything like that anymore, but we do still have like API Medusas. We do have like things that generate, as I said, with the Herald team, the lanterns can all drop their constructs after being carried up. Stuff like that is 100% viable, able to like cross the map and then also drop something and attack your opponent. Really good. Captain Marvel, also able to drop
Jason,
Chewie.
Captain Marvel,
Yeah.
Guy Gardner. Yeah.
But other than those, like Alpha Strike and Barrier, those are like the two teams that I actually know. I make like turtle teams where you've got like a high defend, so either the Thing from Fantastic Four or Green Lantern from Wonder Woman 80, where they've got like a 19 defend, and then you have other bonuses that are thrown in. Fantastic Four has like the ability to get someone that gives adjacent Fantastic Four characters like shape change, Skyne for 50 points, and Captain America gives everyone shape change. Things like that, where you're able to give your team a lot of rollouts and a high defense, just helps you survive through like the first couple of waves of like attacks if you can't move up all the way. If you're playing like a more turtle team where it's not turtle like you're staying in your starting area, it's turtle like you're moving up slowly while being very protected. Barrier, on the other hand, is you're trying to force your opponent to come to you. But the last named, quote unquote named, generic theme team I'm going to talk about is Robot. So Robot has a lot of options. Robot is getting better and better by the day. So from DC, you have Murder Machine, you have Brainiac. So Murder Machine not quite being what it was always like expected to be. Almost like a Vulture, but never quite as good because it couldn't move between attacks. 100 points, so it was like 50 points more than Vulture would ever be. Brainiac, on the other hand, 10 points for outwit, incap, triple target, 6 range. So as we were saying with like the Scott Porter Pog having that perplex triple incap with 6 range, how it was good. This Brainiac for 10 points isn't a slouch. Has ESD, 17 defense. It's pretty decent for a 10-point like filler piece. And then also the Uncommon Superman from that same Justice League Unlimited set. It has close combat expert, so it's an 11 for 4 for 10 points with sidestep, and it's also got flight, so it's a taxi. But the main robots that you're going to actually see, because this is all like filler stuff, the main robots you're actually going to see are the Danger Room constructs from the XDPS set. So you've got Magneto, who's going to start with a 12 for 4, I believe. Let me pull them up here because
Yeah, 12 for 4. You're right. With Pen Blast, yeah.
12 for 4
and range combat
Blast.
Expert now.
Yeah,
oh
so
my
he's
God.
actually 13 for 5.
13, yeah.
He can deal so it's Magneto takes a maximum of 1 damage from the opponent's attacks, and he can't be healed or chosen for Mastermind. He also, until he gets rid of his error tokens, characters take a maximum of 1 damage from Magneto's attacks. That means they can reduce as much as they want. They take a max of 1. So it's not, I have invincible, you deal 1. It's not he's dealing 1. You take a max of 1. So the fact that he's printed 4 means that there's almost, let me see, I think absolutely 0 characters that reduce that to like 0 damage. So he's always dealing a max of 1, period. When he gets enough error tokens, and that's when a 1 appears in his attack roll and he gets 3 of those error tokens, then he can deal full damage. Until then, he's a 13 for 5 with running shot, 8 range, 2 targets. He got a huge boost for 50 points. He only takes 1 damage. He has toughness his first 2 clicks, so it's not like you can poison him through it. You have to either outwit or just, hit him a lot. And it's a lot to sink into a 50-point piece.
Another important thing
6
to
attacks
note
in a 5-point piece.
Yeah, like that's what we're also saying is if you do have a plan to hit people, and we've basically been saying you got to hit people hard, you need to make multiple attacks, not necessarily boost one guy up to make one big attack, because it doesn't work against these guys. You need flurry. You need something, something to just deal these guys a bunch of damage in a turn, because
one-man army
their
does not help a lot against these.
Their stats don't go down that much, and then in the case of Sinister, their stats go up. So it's hard to one-turn these guys because you have to hit them 5 individual times, and you can only guarantee that so much. It's a little tough. Also, if any of these danger room constructs are piloting a vehicle, not that there's many in modern, and not that it's even a safe or great idea to do, but if any of them pilot a vehicle, they can use their stats and they can deal you the full damage because it's not them making the attack, it's the vehicle making the attack with their stats. So if they jump in Sentinel Squad 1 or whatever, which is also a robot, Magneto can actually just pen blast you 13 for 5 if he chooses Ranged Combat Expert and just blast you and just nuke you, you know? Or he can 12 for 4 pen blast you. It's a little ridiculous. So yeah, like it's tough. All the danger room constructs only take 1 damage at a time. And here's probably the worst part about that. That is, once again, not even half the build for 3 really solid attackers. Well, 2 really solid attackers, and then 1 outwit, shape change. So luckily they are all unique.
Constructs are all unique, but yeah, that Magneto is 1/6 of your build. Sabretooth comes in at 45 points, so he's a little bit worse than Magneto because he doesn't have that 8 range double target. But what he lacks in 8 range double target, he makes up for in getting around shape change. He has Battle Fury his whole dial. He has a 12 attack for his first 3 clicks. He has an 18 for his first 3 clicks with super senses that goes to combat reflexes. And then he has a 12 attack with, I think I already said blades. But the fact that at max you're dealing 1 means you don't even have to roll for blades until he's out of those error tokens, or he's got a max of 3 error tokens. And then once he's got a max of 3 error tokens, you can potentially deal 6 damage with this dude on all of his clicks. He also ends on regen, and if you don't have the error tokens and you're only taking 1, you're 100% landing on that click at some point. They might hit you off of it, but maybe they like sank a bunch of attacks in and they like finally miss one. You know, they couldn't like shift their perplexes around enough. Like for whatever reason, you use your robot theme to theme prob them, and he's stuck on regen. He can potentially heal back up to click 2, and then they have to restart the whole process over. It's pretty nuts. The danger room constructs do give opposing characters certain powers when they're KO'd, but yeah, this Sabretooth has flurry and toughness traded, so 6 speed with his charge, so he's got a 12 speed, half of that 6, and then using a 12 for 3 twice, almost as good as the Magneto with the double target. Not quite as good, because that Magneto can be a 13 for 5 with 2 targets and then split it to deal 1 max of 1 to each opponent. That's not terrible. And then Mr. Sinister is probably like the real linchpin in the build, because he's got outwit, shape change for his first 3 clicks. He's got phasing, teleport, sidestep, and stealth for his first 3 clicks. He's got poison, ESD, just he targets through hindering, so if like you have stealth that's not helping you, he's just doing a lot of stuff for this team, and he's only 40. So the last 3 figures that we just talked about total are less than half your build. It's 135 points. And Mr. Sinister being able to outwit, so like if you outwit Invincible, I mean, you really don't need to outwit Invincible. It only reduces by 2 now. Doesn't even do the max of like 3 damage anymore. But Mr. Sinister being able to outwit something and poison you, Sabretooth being able to flurry you, Magneto being able to Psy Blast you, doesn't mean like, so if they've got a reducer of impervious, Magneto can get through that with his Psychic Blast. If they still have it, Mr. Sinister can outwit it and either poison him or let Sabretooth flurry through it. There's just so many options with just these 3 figures. And then there's so many figures that fit really well around them.
Yeah. So Robot has a lot of help. That Tri-Sentinel, it has access to the Dooms because one of the Dooms is a robot.
Yeah.
All caps Doom. So
you can have a themed really good robot team and then swap the Doom to any other Doom. Both Mad Thinkers, the regular and the Prime. The regular one has Outwit, and then does perplex, but only to target characters with robot keywords. So you got an outwit perplex for 20 points. The prime just gives you probability control regardless of range and line of fire for robots. So for 40 points, you have a perplex / outwit depending on what click you're on. And it's
the
like
prime is just
board
6 clicks long for no reason. Like really like deep dial. Like it's got no defense power, sure, but it is just kind of 6 clicks long. And also when it dies, you just switch it over to the 13A Mad Thinker on its whatever red. So it only has 2 clicks of life then or whatever, but still like so it's an 8 click long figure for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's plenty of other robots to look through, but as far as like what you'll actually see, basically take those first 3: Magneto, Sabretooth, Mr. Sinister, combine another 165 points, however you decide, with like equipments, retaliation, whatever, support powers. It doesn't need a lot, but the previous 2 teams that we talked about, like the Wonder Woman team, could double action most of this stuff. Sabretooth has Battle Fury, so he's not able to be targeted with Incap. So at most, they're giving him an action token with Giganta, which means that he's able to do other stuff. Mr. Sinister, being able to outwit, is probably going to be able to take out an Incap on a Wonder Woman, although she can just shifting focus to a different one, so it's not really going to help him a whole lot. But it'll at least minimize how many times she gets to swing with that. But yeah, like it does a lot of stuff. And then for the Secret 6, at most they're dealing 1 to these guys. So if they throw Sky Tyrant all the way across the map, or they throw the Rookie Bystander all the way across the map, at most they're just dealing these guys 1, which is also super solid. And these guys don't really care about being outwitted because those are traits that only take 1 damage. So that's not something that you can outwit. You can outwit a standard power that a trait gives you, but you can't outwit a trait full stop. So yeah, I mean, it's a very viable against those other 2 teams that we talked about. Very viable team that could be played.
Very solid. It's a well-rounded team, considering what is very prominent for right now. So we have some events coming up. So like Tulsa, Oklahoma, I'll be down there. Simeon will then be playing in the Scott Porter Silver Age this weekend. But in Tulsa, which is the first really big Modern Age event that will happen a day before the really big Modern Age event online that will happen. So there's 2 really good events coming up here, which if you're not playing in anything before then, cool. You get to see these things. And trust me, in Tulsa, I will make sure I post those on the Dial H for Heroclix Facebook page. Those, in quotes, being the top 8 or top 16 build sheets, if they don't throw them away before I can get my hands on them. Because they'll be like, who's cowboy hat guy? Don't know. Don't care. They won't even be like that. They'll just be like, all right, cool. Here's the things. All right. No one else needs to see these. And I'll be like, no, wait, I want to see those for research purposes, for making sure the people know purposes. And he'll be like, who are you? Get away. Don't take pictures of these sheets. And I'm like, no, let me take pictures. Let me take pictures of those sheets. I want those sheet pictures. I want the build sheet pictures. So yeah, I'll do my best. I think the online event, someone should post those somewhere, I hope. If not, it'll be in that whatever Discord they make, and Simeon will be able to get those sick screenshots, I hope. So yeah. And if you're not playing through Inter Modern, watch those events, see what happens. Some of this stuff, we could get thrown with a curveball of something else I didn't see coming. Because there's, lots of things that aren't as obvious as Wonder Woman or Secret 6 or Robots. Robots has just been good for a while. And I think it just has a lot of, solid
That's
support.
what won South Dakota State's in 2020. Yeah. So it's not like it's gotten any worse since then. If anything, it's gotten a lot better because anytime they release new robot stuff, and that's like keep an eye on keywords, because if like Monster's doing really good, and then a new set comes out and releases the Secret 6 that all have Monster keyword, there's a good chance that Monster teams are going to get a little boost from that. So it's been like an hour of just telling people what to expect in the meta, which is the worst thing that I can think of talking about for an hour. But yeah, if you truly want to branch out and get into like the meta for some terrible reason, at least this is like a primer and you kind of know what to expect. Because the one thing I truly dislike about Heroclix is how much of a disparity there is between like a local WKO tournament and like home play. Because you can home play and you can do like small venue stuff and have fun for like years and think you've got a good grasp on the game and be like, oh, a competitive team. Yeah, I once played like a Nihilus and got rid of my opponent's Power Cosmic. So I'll do that and I'll do this and this. I'll have 2 outwits. It's a great team. And then you go to a competitive team, like competitive event, and all of a sudden people start blasting you with like ID cards and retaliation and like equipment, and you're like, I didn't even know about these things. So hopefully, if you're one of those people that wants to branch from casual play to meta, this will give you at least like the bare minimum kind of idea of what to expect. That being said, I kind of hate talking about this stuff.
Yeah, I'm kind of done, dude.
It's
Let's like answer some listener questions because like my soul has been sucked out of my body.
Pretty much the worst.
The worst part is I got to like drive to Tulsa this weekend, which means I'm gonna have to talk about this for 8 hours or whatever, and that's gonna really suck. So,
what do they call the Phoenix
Hey,
Nest van? Is it like
it is. It is the
Phoenix
Phoenix
bus?
Nest van. Like
Phoenix bus van? It's the Phoenix.
no, it's called Lucas's uncle's van. That's or van. It's not a van. It's a Suburban. I don't know why we keep
Lucas
calling it a
Van Holland.
Hey,
Double van Holland.
that took us all 2
Yeah.
seconds to figure that out. Congratulations.
There are dozens of us. Dozens!
Hey, we got some freaking listener questions over on the Discord. If you want to join our Discord or just send us some questions, you can do that. You can freaking sign up for our Patreon, give us some money, and then you'll be allowed in our Discord where we have all sorts of cool fun and conversation. You can join our Discord by supporting us on Patreon. If you enjoy the videos, the podcasts, everything we do, either on YouTube or, of course, on the show, you can do that. And as little as $1 a month instantly gets you Discord benefits, instantly gets you entered into a raffle each month. So it's really cool. Anyways, Discord questions. Alex, the Enchanter, asks me and Simeon, what are our favorite Golden Age maps? And then our favorite map that we just like playing on, even if it's not like, like a good map necessarily. Like if it's not like Wakakakanda and it's like, oh, it's a good map, I like playing on it. Instead, he's like, what's just a good map that's like, hey, the map looks cool or it's got a good design or whatever that you enjoy playing on. So my personal favorite Golden Age map, just because I've played so much on it, is Utopia West Outdoor from Avengers vs. X-Men. It's got a little bit of water, it's got a little bit of elevated, it's an outdoor map, a little bit of hindering, a little bit of blocking, not a whole lot. It's just really fun, rounded map, and I played so many games on it. I've been able to really explore how different areas of that map feel at certain points in the game. So I really like Utopia West Outdoor for my personal favorite Golden Age map. Simeon, a favorite Golden Age map.
Man. So typically my go-to Golden Age map, if I'm building a team that's specific to it, is from Fear itself. And it's what is it called? The Pacific Ocean map. The whole map, for the most part, is water terrain. There's still elevated and hindering and blocking, but the entire map is water. That being said, one of my favorite parts about Elseworlds and What If were the maps. So I really like the Junkyard map and the Barroom Brawl, or whatever it was called, the Tavern maps, because they just really felt like a solid location. The Junkyard was almost like a open outdoor map. Let's just butt heads in the middle, except the entirety of the middle was this terrible swamp that if you went into, you were stuck. So you had to be a little bit careful about how you moved on that one. And then the Barroom Brawl, or I wish I actually remembered the name of that one. The Barroom map from Elseworlds was just this perfect combination of blocking. It was indoor blocking, indoor hindering, and then elevated around the edges that just always made every match that happened on there seem equal. Both teams seemed like they had an equal opportunity. So whether you were the first player or the second player, it seemed like you weren't at a disadvantage. If you were second player, your opponent probably moved like halfway up the map, and you're like, all right, well, I've got all this elevated here where they can't target me unless they come up here, or I've got all this hindering down here where I can get into stealth, or alternatively, maybe I can like set up a TK and just meet them in the middle already. The like saloon, the indoor saloon, that's what it was called.
Oh, the High Noon Saloon?
High
Yeah.
Noon Saloon, yeah. That was one of my favorites because I never felt like I was putting my opponent at a disadvantage when I put him on that map. That was always like a clean barroom brawl fun
That
map.
was, oddly enough, that was a fun map to play on, though. I will agree. I do like that map. I really do. He then goes on to say, what's our just favorite whatever map? Not just like a normal Golden Age map, but like personal favorite map. I personally really like the WWE Training Center just because I think it's funny that it's a gym. I don't know. I always pack that when it's like a fun common night. I don't know. I don't know why, but I really enjoy WWE Training Center, and then like a map that doesn't give me much of a benefit at all most of the time. But I do like the Let Them In map, the Wakanda Infinity War
Outriders.
map. Yeah, like that's just a really fun map to play on. It's very simple, but I do always like packing that just because it's cool.
Yeah. My favorite go-to map currently is the Orville Bridge map. We never got a Star Trek bridge, and so when the Orville set came out and they had a single-sided, there's a completely blank white side to this map. They could have easily made two, but single-sided map, the bridge map was what I was like longing for with all the Star Trek sets, and it's just like a fun, like in the like quote-unquote bridge portion, the blocking can't be destroyed because you'd get sucked out into space. That would be terrible. And then the other side has like all these rooms and stuff that you can go into. So again, it like gives your opponent like kind of an advantage depending on which side they'd like. They can either go into the side where the blocking can't be destroyed, or they can go into the side where all the rooms can be entered and exited. I really like that map though. It's a very simplistic kind of idea as far as like it's not Ancient Hold where there's just tons of like doors and you have to like rotate around to get through any blocking and stuff like that. It's like a straightforward map, and then there's just a few rooms off to the side.
Okay. Yeah, dude. I'll vibe. I'll vibe with that as the kids say, the children say. But yeah, so that was all our map questions. We sort of answered iZone Bill also in our Discord asked like what maps are really prominent or that you should look for in competitive. We sort of talked about that a little bit.
Yeah.
In competitive, but just like a real quick thing. I recently played a tournament where a dude had never been on Ancient Hold, even though it's been out for like 2 years. And he didn't know what doors were. So like, look at maps that are played a lot. So Ancient Hold is played a ton because it's a very oppressive, indoor blocking heavy, line of fire cutting off map. And it's got doors, and doors are just blocking terrain for line of fire purposes. For movement, walk right through them. Line of fire, and like adjacency purposes.
Yeah.
Blocking.
And like
pretty simple.
When it comes to doors, if you can't like move, if there's two people on one side of a door and you're on the other side of the door, if you can't move through characters, you can't like open that door and go through. You also can't target them.
Yeah.
It's like they're holding the door shut. So there's a lot of like little door interactions that are, if you don't know how they work, it's, a big surprise. I will say, any map that has a location bonus, for the most part, there's some that the location bonus just isn't ever used, but any map that has a location bonus, assume that it might be used by somebody. A good version, like a good idea of like what a location bonus is, the Latverian village that came with the Cosmic Clash. So this one is at the beginning of the game, you choose a friendly character to gain Mastermind, but only to choose a friendly Latverian peasant. And then at the beginning of the game, generate 3 Latverian peasants in different orange squares, which are marked on the map. If the chosen character is named Dr. Doom, you get to generate 6 instead. It's not optional. It just says generate. So you don't have the choice. They just are generated at the beginning of the
I'm not
game.
going to say anything.
It's not a
Mhm.
May.
Mhm.
It's just you generate these Latvarians. Also, it's 5 points or 0 points if every character on your starting force has the Latveria keyword. So that's also a really good one. But specifically that for the Latvarian peasants, giving Mastermind to characters that don't normally have it is really solid. But there are a ton of special rule maps and a ton of location bonus maps. Earth X was one of like the biggest ones with the what was it, the Iron Man Mansion or Iron Man Tower or whatever it was.
Yeah,
Avengers
the Stark
Tower.
Tower indoor.
Yeah.
Stark Tower indoor, you mean? Yeah.
So it was like Iron Man's face, but you could generate through the map bonus for 5 points. If you were on that map, you could generate bystanders depending on like your roles, which was just
Yep.
real solid. And then when you don't get those maps, you usually get some sort of consolation. So also keep those in mind. But yeah, I think Ancient Hold's probably the only map that I really hate to be put on. But alternatively, I think there's like a WizKid. There's some sort of like WizKids police headquarters map that's equally like got doors and elevated and like just kind of like a headache to get placed on that one as well. So yeah, anything that you see on build lists is probably being played clearly. And then anything that is like heavy indoor, heavy walls, doors, whatever, probably being played. Any map that like looks like just like a headache, assume somebody is going to put it on their build. Because if it looks like a headache when you first see it, it's going to be a real headache when you play on it.
Absolutely. And I mean, yeah, that's honestly kind of true when you really think about it. If it looks like a headache to look at, it's going to be a headache to play on. And then, just types of maps. Really, really open maps, really open outdoor maps, really blocky indoor maps, really blocky outdoor maps. Stuff like that. And then
WWE
elevated
Arena,
to a point
Desert
doesn't
Wedding,
have as much effect as blocking does.
Metal
but
Arena. All of those
yeah,
are
Metal
great
Arena.
open maps. If you
Yeah.
get choice of map, if your opponent chooses one of those maps, assume they're going to hit you very soon because most people aren't going to pick one of those maps and then just stay in their starting area. They're probably going to reach across the map and slap you pretty good.
For sure. And then Luke on our Discord went and asked us all some power related questions. So he says, if you're playing before pink powers, community members were complaining, blah, 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 how useless and dumb sidestep, precision strike, or empower would be around his area and stuff. So basically, what he says is, hey, what if we had to make a new power set? What color would you pick? And what would the powers be? I'm not, I'm a creative person in some ways. I'm not a game design person. So I honestly wouldn't know what I would want powers to be. It really expanded my brain to try to think of ones that were at least WWE specific when Malcolm asked those questions a while ago.
Yeah.
But I jokingly said I would like some denim and plaid powers, just because that'd be funny,
Yeah. As much as that is a joke,
But
I actually
yes,
think that's a good answer because my version of this answer. So I've played with several people that are either mostly colorblind or like slightly colorblind or completely colorblind, where they have to ask you constantly like what color is on like the dial. And so rather than adding like a lighter shade of brown or, because we've already got a light and dark shade of green, a light and dark shade of blue. We've got silver. We've got a light shade. Well, I mean, there's red and pink, which isn't really like different shades. It's two different colors, but close enough. I would really like to see like more, if we were going to add powers, I'd like it to be seen in like the WWE sort of fashion where they've got a different symbol. It's like a circle around the color that like makes that stick out differently. Or alternatively, just do it as like a pattern kind of thing. Give them like a sharp shooter kind of symbol, but on like the color power. So they don't have the sharpshooter on their dial, but like the color is just sharpshooter. So it's like, if they ever made the flurry at range power, it would just be like a red speed, but it has like crosshairs. And so it's like flurry but range. So you can combo that with the running shot, but it'd be called like double tap or something like that. And then I didn't come up with a ton of powers for this because someone in our Discord answered it probably a lot better than I would have.
Yep, they sure did.
Yeah. So
cool. This is where Simeon will read that now because I'm good.
Alex the Enchanter said,
"Killing it."
Turquoise/petrol color. I assume petrol is oily black. I don't know.
Well, turquoise is that like Dr. Manhattan blue? Is that turquoise?
Turquoise is bluish green, as far as I know.
Yeah, so there you
go. But he says all about disrupting your opponent's plans.
That's sort of what InCap is, isn't it? Isn't InCap already kind of that color? Like, aren't those InCap barrier prob?
That's why I said like I'd prefer like a different symbol or like a different pattern over a color because the colors are already doesn't come out quite right. We saw that in Secret Wars Battle World. They had to like fix a bunch of dials because the colors didn't come out completely accurate. But his colors were turquoise petrol color. So for the move version, it would be called Grapple. Free, place one adjacent figure into another empty adjacent square, which I think is like awesome. It seems like a power that would be better comboed with like sidestep, charge, something. But also it would work on its own because I could move my full speed, then like move like the character adjacent to me, behind me, and then maybe the characters that I had behind that haven't moved yet can make an attack or something like that. And then the attack version of this color would be neutralization. Power, place 4 markers, same adjacency as smoke cloud wording. Characters in these markers cannot have their combat values replaced or modified, which, I mean, it's not as amazing as smoke cloud because smoke cloud grants you like stealth and stuff like that. But it does work in the same vein as Smoke Cloud minusing 1 to your opponent's attack value. So Neutralization Cloud, just having like a kind of aura around you where your opponents can't be bumped up to high heaven. They can't use combat reflexes or close combat expert. I could see that being a both offensive and defensive power, so that's kind of good. And then the defense version would be Stoic. This character cannot have its combat values negatively modified. So kind of like a reverse of the Weird World trait where your opponent couldn't modify their defense value or attack value. But this one doesn't let your combat value be modified. So that's pretty good. I could see that working with like a defend pretty well.
I like it. Yeah.
And it's not like overly powerful. So it fits in like the vein of like where I could stack that with other powers and not feel like I'm really busting the game. And then the damage version of this color would be Protection Aura. Roll at 1d6. Adjacent friendly characters cannot be targeted by opposing figures more than X squares away, where X is the result -1. So, I mean, I think this is the one. This is like too close to like Exodus and too close to like the dolphin symbol.
Yeah.
Where I think a power action roll, if I roll like a 5, adjacent friendly characters can't be targeted by opposing characters more than X squares away. So it'd be, if I roll a 5, it's a 4 because -1. That just seems way too good. If it was +1, then that makes it a little bit better. Because if I roll a 1 and then it's just like opposing or adjacent friendly characters can't be targeted. But as is, this is pretty busted, I think. Not being able to be targeted from pretty much, I mean, it's like Shard, it's like White Queen, it's like behind the scenes traits, it's similar to WWE if you roll really well. It's it's like a lot of like the different powers where you're protected from range and being targeted. And targeted especially means like outwit, perplex, as well as attacks. So that's the main reason why this one's a little bit too powerful. That being said, I could see this as like a special power for sure.
Special power. Oh yeah, but not a standard power. No offense. Not quite a standard power.
Yeah, it just seems a little too good to be something that like happens on multiple dials for sure. But yeah, I really liked those answers, and I didn't bother coming up with my own because those all put mine to shame. So I didn't even. After reading through those, I was like, "Oh, I don't have good ideas."
That's how you are. Always. I mean, you never have good ideas. But yeah, that is. Those are some sweet questions, and like I said, you can do those on Patreon, or if you just want to do normal questions, you can message us on Twitter or Facebook. Dial H for Heroclix on all those places. Instagram, Dial H for Heroclix. You want to watch awesome videos? Check us out on youtube.com/Dial H for Heroclix, or just go to YouTube, type in Dial H for Heroclix, baby. We're there. Great content. We got freaking live gameplay videos every single month. Sometimes they'll be wacky and dumb, or just cool and creative, whatever you want to call it. Or we'll just have some Roll20 / some tabletop simulator, some 3D online HeroClix videos. And we're doing unboxings, so I've got an unboxing video up there right now for the Wonder Woman set. There'll be another unboxing being released on Monday. And we just like to have good fun time on our YouTube. So check that out. Guys, I want to thank you, because the other day I was looking at the podcast and I was just checking and seeing how many listeners we had, and we're up to almost 1,500 listeners of the show, and that's really, really impressing me. So I'm like, I want to thank you guys so much for listening to the show and seeing just how many people are enjoying it and liking it and sticking around and having a good time with Simeon and I. So thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. But yeah, that's what I have.
I really hope
I've got
that the competitive talk for like 30 minutes didn't dissuade
hopefully they didn't
anyone from
totally
listening. I don't know. What's weird about HeroClix is there is like there used to be like a sharp learning curve just to get into the game. I think the sharp learning curve's kind of more gradual with the new rules changes, but the learning curve from going from like being able to play the game to being able to compete at like a competitive level is always going to be really sharp, especially with like with a low level entry for like learning the game. Picture a line graph. So what used to be, let's say like 2 inches up, was the learning curve. That has been dropped to 1 inch. But at the end of the curve, on the right side, is still the competitive play, and that hasn't changed. So what used to be like a steep learning curve to get into the game, and then a slightly steeper learning curve to get into competitive, is a slightly less steep to get into game, and then what seems like an extremely drastic steep slope to get into competitive play now. But anyhow,
yeah, man.
Let's do the Jedi Legend HeroClix tip of the week.
You don't want to sell me death sticks.
I don't want to sell you death sticks.
You want to go home and rethink your life.
I want to go home and rethink my life.
Jedi Legend says, HeroClix tip of the week. Look at that dial top. Does it have 2 or more lightning bolts? Oh, it does? Then you can target that many opposing pieces in close combat as well as ranged combat. Split your damage amongst hit targets. He says, pow, flap, kazang. I don't know what punching or shooting noise makes a kazang or kazong sound.
It's British,
I can't think
right?
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's just if you get punched
people.
in the UK, it sounds different than here. So here it's more of like a thunk, thud, kind of like a meat versus meat.
And they go kazang, gubna.
But there, over there it's more of like a hollow echo when they punch you in the head. It's like,
boy, you got a breathing license. Are you allowed to be breathing over here on this part of the subway? Got a license for that, taking that breath. Boy, I don't reckon you do that, innit?
I've been watching a lot of Doctor Who lately, and that's
spot
sorry. On. I'm not even gonna lie. That's 100% spot on. That accent.
I mean, with their budget and my budget, both of them are the same, so it makes sense. Get it? Because their effects are bad. All right.
Wow.
That was our Jedi Legendary Exclusive week. Real quick, shout out to the 42 people that listen to us in Japan. Shout out to the 2 people that listen to us in India. Shout out to the 1 guy that listens to us in China. Shout out to the other guy that listened to us in Russia. And shout out to the 2 people in Finland. I know Tiemu is our Finnish boy over there. Shout out to the 1 guy that listens to us in Brazil. Really appreciate that. Yeah, so thank you guys. It's awesome. I love looking at the Podbean map and seeing what random countries, I shouldn't say random countries, but which countries I wouldn't expect listeners to be from listen. And that's really, really cool. And I really like that. Sadly, we do not have any listeners in Antarctica yet, but maybe.
It's a Patreon stretch goal. We'll go to Antarctica and do a live episode from there, and then do whatever that weird marathon is that they run around Antarctica.
Oh, geez. You think either of us could realistically do that?
Oh, a marathon? I couldn't. Survive in the cold? Also no. Combine the 2, we've got 1 less podcaster on this.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very, very true.
But, I mean, if the patrons send us there, I mean...
If you send us enough money to cover for a flight to Antarctica,
heck,
we'll do it.
I think Elon Musk has a price, and he'll send me to Mars. So if somehow Elon hears this and sends me to Mars, I'll try my best to continue from there. I will likely die. I don't think they have any food there, but I'll try. Just keep bumping the stretch goals up until they're impossible.
That's right. I mean, already our stretch goal for $200 is probably seemingly impossible at this point. I kid.
Yeah.
If you want us to hit that stretch goal, just go ahead and donate. We're only $91 away. And we're going to do really cool tokens. So, yeah, check out the tokens we already have there. And Simeon and I are going to start making bystander tokens here soon. Once we figure out how computers and editing technology works, there's all sorts of cool stuff in the future. So thank you guys so much for listening. Simeon, have you done the readout yet? I was honestly spacing out a little bit. I ain't gonna lie.
Oh,
don't know if I can say.
You mean have I
funny
said
words yet?
Dial H for Heroclix is brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day, from the latest Heroclix singles and sealed products to all kinds of other board games and miniatures. So check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Happy trails.
So if you're looking for emotional satisfaction, my advice to you is seek professional...
Heroclix?
No.
Are you serious? Again? How many people even play this game? 100? Instant deadpan humor.
Over 6 people think I am funny.
It's a hard day's work. Not that you know anything about that. Which...
You absolute fools, it's not
Witcher nonsense.
I'm gonna make Heroclix like that forever. Are you kidding me?
Hey Google, attack someone.
Let's attack Simeon because he's a jerk.
Wow.